All right. Going live. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see. All right. Give it a couple of minutes, whatnot, and then all right. I'm gonna do, I guess, since I don't have the Rambler on here. One second. All right. All right. So, quick update. I'm gonna have to start doing these videos, maybe shorten them. I can do 2 a week, but when I do the 4 hours, it's like I think it's only doing like 20 hours per week. Y'all bless, Sue. Y'all bless. Y'all bless. It's only allowing me to do 2 videos. Well, not 2 videos per week. You got 20 hours per month. That's for the free version of Stream, and I'm not gonna pay for this or whatnot, right? All right. So we had a couple of things that Delta you asked about, and then the brother TT asked about as well. Okay. So I'll start with yours because I typed some stuff up or whatever to help go along with this or whatever the case may be. All right. Can you guys hear me? Am I coming through loud and clear? I just need to know if I'm coming through. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, let me see. What you got? You okay?
Yeah, did you want to eat for me?
I'll wait. I'm gonna eat after I get through. Okay. Thank you. All right. So gonna go through this. Like I said, the deal is with I guess you could say the deal is with StreamYard. It lets you do 20 hours per month for the free version, which if I think about it, that could be 20 hours worth of content, maybe 20 videos, an hour a piece, or even if 2 hours is 10 videos in a month. So we're looking at more than 2 videos per week. So it's just that I used 4. I didn't learn this till last night when I used 4 hours last night, and it reminded me about making content. So, or told me rather, because I didn't know anything about it prior. All right. So my desk is kind of junky here because I got books and encyclopedias, and you guys can probably see it here. All stuff all over, right? All right. So I'm just trying to get through this the best way I can. All right. All right. So we're gonna go through the first thing, which was the truth about marriage, right? And what we'll do is we'll go through this about marriage, and literally what marriage constitutes, how it works. We talked about the lust and a couple other things that you mentioned as well. Brother, let's see. I gotta set my printer where everything come out in order. Okay, so that's dealing with the judgments. Okay, I see what's going on here. So now, okay. All right, so we can do it this way here. Yeah, there we go. Sins that require death. And boom. Okay. All right. So just a quick thing, like I said, prayer to all the brothers and sisters that's listening, that's in the YouTube world listening, having questions. And again, if you guys have any questions, you can comment, you can come on and speak. But if you have any questions, this is the link here if you want to come on and ask questions, or if you just want to type in the comment section, you can do that. And also, if there's something you want to see addressed in the next video or the next live session, all you have to do is put that video put that comment in the actual YouTube comment section, and then I'll use that to populate, and we can discuss that in the next video. So I'll let you guys know about that, or whatever case may be. Okay. All right. So the first thing you asked about yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, was, let's see. I think you asked about let me go to the YouTube video. Here we go. The comments. You said, what is biblical marriage according to Yah? Right? And then you said, Delta Roots, and you said, Christianity states that all sins are the same. There are no differences. Does Yah look at certain sins different from others? And then you said, a man looking at another sister sexual in his mind versus a man sleeping with another man. All right. So I got those for you. And then TT asked some things as well. So the first thing is the word marriage. And I'm going to pull this up on the screen. Let me go back here. Let's see real quick. I'll get the ball running. All right. Now, marry, married, and past tense and marriage. So it's kind of how you word it to get the desire that I guess you're looking for in regards to definitions. And you'll see this later in some of the other things as well. All right. So let me share my screen. All right. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So the word marriage is 18 verses, right? But I'm not counting the New Testament. So the word marriage itself is in the Old Testament twice. Marriage. That's Hebrew 5:7-7-2. Let me put that on the screen. You can see it there. It's the Hebrew word onah, right? And this is what it means. It says to cohabit, or cohabitation, to dwell together, sexual cohabitation, duty of marriage. Onah. Now that's in the book of Shemot, chapter 21, verse 10. So when we go to Exodus 21 and 10, right here, we see, and if he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall not diminish. Now that word marriage right there is 5:7-7-2. So dwelling together and sexual cohabitation, that is the duty of marriage. Think about that for a second, because a lot of people tell you the duty of marriage is to cook, to clean, to make the beds, help kids with homework, children with homework, and all this other stuff, right? But it's not. As you can see right there from the Hebrew word onah, Hebrew 5:7-7-2, the duty of marriage. Of course, those things come into play. When you look at antiquity, the children of Israel, we were out in the field. The men were out in the field or at the market, selling things, doing things, working the field, bringing in food, crops, selling crops, trading, bartering. Then, of course, the woman at home with the children, she would be expected to cook. If a man is out in the field all day tending to the crops and the flocks and things like that, he's not going to be in particular, especially if he doesn't have any children yet. He's not going to be sitting there trying to do all that, then come home and cook for everybody, right? So that's where the concept of just common sense and logic comes from. So now marriage. So when we look at the word marriage, you can look at Exodus 21 and 10, which I just showed you the word onah, which means what? It to dwell together, sexual cohabitation, the duty of marriage, because you can't be married without sex. So you'll have a lot of times in this society, a lot of people will say, well, we live in the same house, we sleep in different rooms, we don't have sex, but we're still married. You're not married. You're not married. List like Hebrew 5:7-7-2, that's Exodus 21 and 10. If he take him another wife for food, her food and her raiment and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. Meaning, onah, sexual cohabitation, having a place for her to live. So marriage is not just having a place for her to live and sexual cohabitation. It's also that person, you can't live on the other side of town and you're my wife and you got an apartment over there and I'm over here and all. No, what are we doing? You see what I'm saying? That's dwell together. Then it says sexual cohabitation, right? So that's one of the first things we look at as far as in dealing with marriage. And like I said, sex to consummate the marriage, to make the marriage actually complete, you have to have sex. If a person got married, had a ceremony or whatever case may be, and then the person fell ill at the wedding, right, and had to go to the hospital or something, and they didn't consummate the marriage, they're not married yet. Sex consummates the marriage. A lot of people don't understand that, but it is what it is. Now, you could also look up Hebrew 3947. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to show you Hebrew 3497. Hebrew 3497. All right, let's see. And you can see it on the screen here. I'm sorry, it's 3947, not 3497. Let me show it to you guys real quick. Okay. And you can see Lakak here. Okay. So now let me flip that for you so you can see it. Stop sharing here, share here. And as you can see, this definition as well, 3947, right? And it says here, to accept, bring, buy, carry, drawn, mingle, many, to come together, to take, right? And you'll see that as well used. And as you can see here, verb, especially the buy and the fall, be taken in marriage. Okay. So when a person is taken in marriage, Exodus 21 and 10, if a man finds another wife, so whatever he does for the first wife, he has to do for the second wife as well. So he has to make sure he can provide food, sustenance, clothing, the whole nine, and then of course sexual cohabitation, dwelling together, right? And a lot of times you see with Israelites, they're trying to do some of these laws, but they're doing them incorrectly, living in different homes, not dwelling together. How can you discipline a child on the other side of town? I got to call you. There were no cell phones, so we know they weren't doing that. So I want you to understand, technology doesn't change the law. The law is eternal, according to the book of Psalms, right? So with that being the case, we'll see that. And I want to show you also Hebrew 8:02, right? So let's check this one out. And I'm showing you these for a particular reason, so you can see it real quick. So we'll go to H. Okay, 802. And you'll see H802 is Ishna, right? So you got Isha coming here, dealing with wife, woman, etc. Wife, right? And if you look at it, it'll tell you. So these are the questions. 1A. So I break them down like this in one. So what is biblical marriage according to Yah? That was your question. And that's the union between a man and a woman coming together, supplying her with all the things to take care of her needs and even some of her wants, right? And then consummating that marriage, sexually taking care, raising a family, and pushing children out into the world, giving us the next generation of the children of Israel, right? So then it says B, considering a man and woman to be married at the moment they engage in sexual intercourse, because that's how you consummate the marriage. You can't consummate the marriage without sexual intercourse, as I gave the example. If you're at the wedding and you fall ill and you don't have sex that night on your wedding night or whatever, that marriage isn't consummated. It's not a legit marriage. And then it says marriage is, and of course, we all know this is marriage is not between two men and two women. Okay. So we're not even entertaining that. And you notice how what Yah set up to create a strong family bond and to create a strong family system and network, man has taken it and flipped it and started saying, okay, well, two men can get married now, or two women can get married now. And then you got all these other different genders and things coming in. This is just more confusion coming from the Malachi Edomites, right? Because they're the ones really pushing this. If the people that run the world, that controls banking, finances, media, etc., if they wanted righteousness, that would be righteousness. But you can't get righteousness from unrighteous people. Okay, so that's dealing with that. Now, also another thing we want to look at as far as in when you look at like the basis, when the sexual intercourse comes and the two shall become one flesh. So when you go back to Bereshit, we see that, and the two shall become one. So when you look at Adam and Eve, now keep in mind, this is something that's not very popular. Y'all never went against it, and we can prove y'all never went against it. But originally, it was supposed to be one man, one woman. Now people sit there and say, "Well, no, man, you're bugging." No, I'm not. Because remember, what does Yah always use in relationship to the children of Israel? And think about this in the back chat. What does he always call us? He says he's the husband and we're the what? The children nation of Israel. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 14. Okay, I'm gonna find Jeremiah 3 and 14. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 14. Now check this out. We all know that the two nations were never supposed to be split. It was because of the sin that the nations were split, right? So as Dre Israel said, wives, Delta Root said, a bride. Correct. So as a bride and as wives, let's look at it from this standpoint. So not me, not Moshe, not Abraham, not Isaac, Jacob, not anybody. The standard is the creator, right? I think we all can agree the standard is creator. So what does the creator say? When we go to Jeremiah, okay, we're going to go to Jeremiah, and I'm going to show you how you can know. Now, the Most High doesn't seem to go against it, but we can see originally what it was. And this is Jeremiah chapter 33, right? Verse 14. And you see that word married right there on the screen. You can see it in verse 14. That's Hebrew 1166, right? And that's the word Baal. And it means to be a master. And remember, the other week I was telling you guys about Baal and how it's used, and that's what it is. So married, in that aspect, the man becomes the master, or the Most High in this aspect is the master of his wife, which is Yisrael metaphorically. Okay. No, that's Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 14. Jeremiah, chapter 3, verse 14. So when you can Jeremiah 3 and 14, it says, "Turn, O backsliding children, saith Yah, for I am married unto you," singular, not talking about I'm married to a bunch of different nations, because if you're going to push the polygamy argument, that would be, I'm married to Israel, I'm married to the Babylonians, I'm married to the Egyptians, I'm married to everybody in Mesopotamia, I'm married to, you know what I'm saying? And he's not doing that. So again, he says, I'm married to you. And he says, and I would take you, one of a city, and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. So we see in this, in Jeremiah chapter 3, it talks about, and let's go up to verse 11. And the Lord said unto me, the backsliding Israel have justified herself more than the treacherous Judah. Now people sit there and say, well, hold on. Well, you got Israel and Judah, that's two wives. No, you don't. Because remember, that scepter was departed, but the prophecy to come back is what? Us to become one stick again. So if we become one stick again, by default, we're one wife to the Most High. One nation, one wife to the Most High. So we know that was the original deal. And plus, if it's real easy to prove, if you look at Adama, we would have had a Kawa and a Kawa 2, or an Eve 1 and an Eve 2, and we don't have that. We had Adam and Eve. It is not good that man should be alone. That would have been the perfect time to give him 2 or 3 wives. I mean, think about it. At that point in Bereshit chapter 1, Adam and 2, Adam had everything. Everything he needed to sustain himself, food, lodging, the whole 9, right? He had everything he needed. So we know that's not the answer. All right. Now, again, we know that the Most High allows polygamy. Building a nation, polygamy is a great tool to build a nation, because you have more children. The more children, and remember, be fruitful and multiply would fall under that. A woman can have a child basically every 10 months. But if you got 3 wives, then you can have a child, 3 children every 10 months. Just basic multiplication, right? So, and then we also got to look at the term concubine, because remember, Yah never gave us the term concubine. It's mentioned in Bereshit, but Moshe doesn't really talk about it. And it's not in the 613 laws. Because if you think about it logically, we can't make whores out of the daughters of Zion. So if we can't make whores out of the daughters of Zion, then that means they have to be our wives. So when we start saying concubine, I honestly believe that's the little things that Esau just slipped on in there, and we're talking about concubines. But when you look at the scriptures, these concubines, I asked Lewis the other day, yesterday, I asked him about last week, I asked him, correct. I think concubine was literally an Edomite invention, Delta roots. And the reason I say that is because when we look at the scriptures, we look at Yaakov, our forefather Yaakov, old man Yisrael, and Yisrael had 4 wives, right? Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, Zilpah. So, but they try to say those other 2 were concubines. But as I asked Lewis, I said, that Yaakov, Yisrael, did he take care of Rachel, Leah, and the other 2 wives? The so-called concubines? And he said yes. Did he take care of them? Did he raise the children? Did he protect the children? Did the Most High acknowledge those are his children? And were those children made a part of the greatest nation to ever exist on the planet? The answer is yes to all of that. So what's the difference between a concubine and this, and a wife? Because here's the deal: if you can afford a worker that works for you and you have sex with this worker, right, then, and she lives in your home and she bears you children, how could she not be a wife? And when you look up at the 613 laws, there is no law on concubine. There's no law that says thou shalt not have concubines, thou shalt have concubines, thou shalt get you some concubines. None of that. So we know it had to be pushed into the system. So when you look at Shlomo, 1,700 wives, 300 concubines, 1,000, whatever. No, those are just wives. Those are just wives. Okay. And the king of Israel is not supposed to multiply wives either. So you see that. You see David having multiple wives. You see Solomon having multiple wives. But the law from Moshe through Yah, Eloheinu specifically states, you're not supposed to have multiple wives. Right? So we got that, dealing with a concubine, and that's the word pelegesh, right? So in the Hebrew word is pelegesh, dealing with a concubine. Okay, so they just took that term, threw that term in there, because those are just wives. Those are just wives. Think about this logically this way: why would you give your seed to a woman you don't love? We're not talking about prostitution. That's prohibited. You can't make whores out of the daughters of Zion. That's all prohibited. Your seed is very valuable. If the seed we plant outside can't be mixed and mingled and thrown into just planted any kind of way, what more so the seed of life that Yah gives us to produce children? Now you got to liberate dealing with marriage as well, where they sit there and say, well, if your brother dies and he doesn't have any children, you're supposed to go into his wife and raise up children. I don't think that's logical. I mean, think about this here. Who gives us children? Yah, the strong one. Yah is the one that gives life. Yah is the one that gives the soul or the spirit to that body that's inside. Because remember, what is a soul? When you go back to Genesis, a soul is what? The breath of life plus the body makes man a living soul. When man loses that breath of life, he becomes a dead soul. So let me show you that real quick. We'll go into that real quick. All right, we'll go into Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. I think it's verse 7. Yeah, here we go. So verse 7. Now listen what it says crystal clear here. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul. The church teaches that you have a soul inside of you. And it's a spirit like a ghost. And it looks kind of like you, but you can't really see it. And all that nonsense, the immortal soul. They teach that Egyptian idolatry doctrine that the Most High told us when we came out of Egypt, do not the ways of the Egyptians. And as you guys know, if you read the scriptures, Israel has always been suckers for Egypt. Right? You said Solomon had a lot, but he was the prince of Yashar. Yes, he was the prince. He was the governor. He wasn't the king. That's another thing they want to say king, but there's only one king. That's Yah, the king. Yah is king. There's no other king. Okay, and that's where we get in trouble when we start making, because what was the deal? Samuel said he was kind of upset, and he was like, the Most High told him, don't be upset. They upset. They don't want me to rule over them. They're not upset with you. They don't want me to rule over them. So if you're an Israelite and you don't have this grasp, this concept, you should want Yah to rule over your affairs. It's like that blasphemous license plate. God is my co-pilot. Oh, so he's going to sit in the side seat and you do all the thing. And then when it's messed up, you turn it over to him, huh? No, the Most High is the pilot. Okay. He is the king. He is the almighty king, right? The true governor in the realm and affairs of all men. Whereas we have governors that rule our nation, right? All right. So we got that. And if you notice, Yah didn't give anybody any concubines. That's very important to notice. So when you're dealing with concubines, it's just wives. You're doing the duty of wives. You're feeding them, you're clothing them, you're taking care of them. They live with you and you're having sexual intercourse. That is literally the definition of marriage, right? That's literally the definition of marriage. Now, the first time you'll see that term concubine dealing with marriage, because we know I'm telling you it's marriage, is in Bereshit chapter 22. So when you go to Bereshit 22, let me pull that up real quick. Okay. So, and let's go down to verse 24. Right? Let's go up a little bit. It says, Huz, the firstborn, and Buz, his brother, and Camille, the father of Aram. Verse 22, and Chesed, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jitloth, and Bethuel, right? And Bethuel begat Rebekah, and these 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother, and his concubine, whose name was Ruamah, she bare also Tabah and Gaham and Thashash and Ma'akah. So you see the first time the word concubine is mentioned is right there, and then it comes back again in Bereshit 35. So you go to 35, and I think it's 35 and 22. You'll see it here. And it came to pass when Israel dwelt in their land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard it. Now the 12 sons of Jacob were the 12 sons, the sons of Leah. And you see them right there. You see Reuben, Jacob, firstborn, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. Those are Leah's babies. We discussed Issachar yesterday, right? But as you can see, that's the second time a concubine is mentioned. But we see that Yaakov or Yisrael is taking care of Bilhah and Zilpah, He's taking care of them, feeding them, clothing them, and he's producing children with them. I mean, like I said, concubine what? Just call it what it is. It's marriage. Okay? Because anything other than that is a prostitute. And we know that's not righteous, right? So we got that. Then we can go into 36 and 12. Let's go down one chapter and 12. And it says, and Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son. So notice, you don't see that. You don't see that with the children of Israel until 35, when you see Israel himself, and they say he has a concubine, Bilhah, which he takes care of and produces children with. And by producing children with Bilhah in 35, we see the children she gave in verse 22. Let's see, here we go. So we see Reuben that slept with Bilhah, right? And this is kind of like some of the things that people need to also understand. So when you go down, let me see something. And you see Isaac dies here or whatever, right? So, okay, so now, and then you can look at Judges chapter 8, verse 31, etc. Now, there's restrictions on who to marry. So remember, let's break it down again. Marriage is what? Taking care of a woman, dwelling together, cohabitating, aka having sexual intercourse to produce children. That's why if a person is taught, notice in the scriptures, one of the sins that's punishable by death, because we're going to go into what you was talking about earlier. In the second part, you asked about the varying degrees of sin. And notice one of the sins was that if you sleep with another man's wife, that's called adultery. The punishment, the judgment for it is death. See, Abraham had the law, statutes, and commandments. He didn't have the precepts, ordinances, and judgments, because you get ordinances in a land like city ordinances, and then you get judgments in a land because you can judge people. You can't really judge people in someone else's home in other lands. That's why even today we can't carry out these laws, statutes, commandments, of force, stoning people to death, etc. in America, because that's counted as murder here. But when we go back into our own land, that's what it is there. Okay, so again. And if you had those laws, statutes, commandments, and people talking back to their mothers and fathers, cursing them out and striking them and things like that, being put to death, that would clear up a lot of confusion. Okay. But again, Esau doesn't want the confusion cleared up. He wants the confusion. Right. So, so let's go into here. All right. So we got that. So now, so when we're dealing with marriage, it's very important to know that sex constitutes marriage. Now, there's nothing in the scripture that says, walk down the aisle. Do you have the ring? I have the ring. I do. Those vows are the vows you and that person make before the Creator. And watch this here, because we're supposed to be honorable men, and the women are supposed to be honorable women. So we're supposed to make our vows and our oaths and not break them. I'm going to show you how important they are. Remember when the children of Benjamin, was fighting against the rest of the tribes, and then the tribe said, we're not going to give him any of our women. He can't have none of our women. They made an oath, and they stuck to that oath so much so that they was like, okay, the tribe of Benjamin is going to get wiped out if they don't have any women, and we can't give them any women because we're keeping our oath. Because when you swear before the Lord God, it ain't, okay, I swear I didn't really mean that. Let me pull that back. No. That's an oath before the Lord. You're supposed to keep that and fulfill it. So you're supposed to be very careful with how you do those things, right? Very careful how you do those things. All right, so you got that. So now we're dealing with the marriage. So we got the conjugal, we got the cohabitation, producing children, offspring. That's the whole point of marriage. Now, you asked about some of dealing like the judgments that follow sin, and if some of those sins, because Christians teach that certain sins are greater than other sins, right? So when you look at it from that standpoint, yeah, it's a great deal of sins that require death. I'll give you an example. So I'm going to read a couple of them to you. Because remember, and then you brought up about lust as well. So I want to deal with that as well. All right. So when you go to Genesis chapter 9, verse 6, because you know Christians sit there and say sin is sin. Okay, Abigail Williams says, Shalom, what if a man diminishes from his duties of the woman and is an infidel? Right? So let's go to that real, and you say you sent a text, Delta Roots. Let me see something. You text me? Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. If that's the text you're talking, yeah, okay, yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Okay, so let me yeah, okay, I got you, brother. That was crazy. Just straight on the bread, right? That was crazy. All right. So let's go back, Abigail. So we do everything decent in order based on what Yah said, right? So what did Yah say in regards to um not diminishing the duty? Hold on one second. Let's go to Shemot chapter 21. And that's in 10. So we'll go a little right below that, above that, okay? All right. So Abigail, we're gonna start at verse 21 and 9, and we're gonna go through down through verse 11. Okay. So this is what the requirement is and what Yah expects, right? And it says, and if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. Verse 10, if he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her marriage. Those are the three things: food, raiment, and her duty of marriage, which we looked up in the Hebrew 5772. Onah, right? We looked up the Onah, which means sexual cohabitation. That's what's on the screen right there. So Onah. So if the man, let's say for instance, it's me, Abigail, if I am not making sure you, the children, etc., or whatever, have food to eat, right? If I'm not making sure you guys have clothes on your back, right? And if I'm not making sure I'm giving you the duty of marriage where you're sitting there suffering and I don't want to have sex with you, or vice versa. But in particular with the male, this is it. If I don't do those three things, let's read verse 11. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. So then you're free. You're free. So what we would do in antiquity is we would go to the elders. We go to the elders of the community and we would say, hey, this is the claim. This is what's going on. You would say Hazek, or you would say, let's say your Mikael, Abigail, is your husband. You would say, Mikael, I've discussed this with y'all. You say Mikael is not taking care of me. He's not providing me with clothes. You guys see, I don't have any clothes. We're hungry. There's no food in the house. He doesn't even sleep with me anymore. And then we see in verse 11, and if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. You're free. Okay. That's the law. That's Shemot 21, 9 through 11. You're free. You're free, clear, free and clear. He didn't keep the duty of a husband, therefore he can't act as a husband. Very simple, right? So I hope that answers your question in regards to that. And then you said, what if a man diminishes from the duties of a woman and is an infidel? So if a man diminishes from the duties of a woman, when you say diminishes from the duty of a woman, what do you mean by that? Because I know, when we say the duties of a woman, which is the Hebrew word onah, it's the sexual obligation as well. Now, let's keep in mind, like I was saying earlier, I don't know if you were on when I first started talking about this, but if I'm out in the field and I'm working all day, and I'm working, I'm growing crops, tending to the sheep, the goats, I got tons of herds, that's money on the hoof, right? I got cattle, the whole nine. If I'm out there on the ranch dealing with that stuff all day, I think it's kind of logical I don't come home to cook. that you're at home, you don't have that job, you're not working. Because remember, when you look in the curses of YHWH 28, it talked about how delicate our women were, that their foot didn't really hit the ground, meaning aka they wasn't really doing no work. Yeah, if you want to do something to keep busy around the house, you may have went and to the market and sold some bread or some clothes or something you made, etc. And and how women like to gossip with their friends and things like that. Probably that. But that's pretty much it. You said, so no bill of divorce needed, and that won't be adultery. No, it won't be adultery, because remember what I said. Well, we in antiquity, we would go before the elders of the township where we in. We would go before the elders. So see, now if you just sit there and say, it could be all true. He's not doing this. He's not doing this. No food, no sex, and no clothes. And it's true, and that's fine. It's true. But you don't sell that to the elders or anybody, and then you just get caught with another man. You're gonna get stoned to death, because it's in proper order. See, when you go before the judges, when you go before the elders of the city, the elders of the community, the elders of the tribe, and you say, these are the concerns, you don't need a bill of divorce. But a piece of paper, you're gonna write it down and keep it and say, look, I can go mess with this guy. Remember, we live in a community, so the people would already know. He would be blasted for not taking care of you. And Yah forbid you had children. Because remember, even with the bill of divorce is just saying what? He wasn't doing his duties. But in this particular, a man can put a woman away for other things. But this bill of divorce isn't necessarily needed, because the elders of the community are the ones that would make the decision to say, hey, she committed adultery, let's stone her. That's going to be recorded with them. See, like when you get a divorce, you get papers in the mail and stuff like that. That's not how ancient Israel did it. We were a community. So just imagine in the neighborhood, the elders are the righteous, they have the wisdom, the Levites are there, the Levites are coming through, everybody's coming through, and then everybody knows what's going on. Because remember, if he's not taking care of you, in the community, I need to know that if I got a daughter that he's interested in, right? I need to know that. And that won't be adultery. No, because it says right here, verse 11, and if he do not these three unto her, then she shall go out free without money. See, the word free is free, separated. Let's look that up in the Hebrew right there, right? Shall go out free. Hebrew 2600, kinam, right? That is gratis, that is devoid of cost, without cause, for nothing, right? So you're free. You're literally free. If you're free, you're not chained to that person. Yes, no paperwork, no marriage certificate, because we weren't even doing that anyway. That's something that the system does here in most of these Western societies, so that when things happen, they can literally charge you. You pay for the license, right? And then they can come in and legally take stuff from you and things like that. And also it can be used in certain examples to settle disputes. Like, let's say, for instance, Abigail, I'm married, and then somehow on the slick, I marry you. In this society, then of course we really weren't married, because in this society, a man can have multiple wives. So the bill of divorce wouldn't be needed, because the elders of the community, they are the ones giving the bill of divorce. So it's not like you're going to sit there and say, when I'm walking down the street, I'm going to go see my new guy, and look, I got my papers. I got my papers, right? No paperwork. That bill of divorce is just saying you're free, because divorce means to leave alone, to get away from, to divorce. So you're free. You're no longer tied or shackled to that man. You're not, the two are no longer one flesh, because he didn't perform his duties. See, that's the thing. That's another thing people don't realize dealing with Yah. You can hold that Yah to that, because that's what he wants us to figure out, that, hey, look, you're, as Yisrael, we're your wife. You have to take care of us, Yah. That's his job. That's why when you look at Malachi, will a man rob God? No, you rob me in tithes and offerings. Well, how do we rob him in tithes and offerings? He doesn't come down and collect the money, right? Well, we robbed him in tithes and offerings because when that person was supposed to tithe, you were supposed to leave a corner of the field for the widows, the strangers, the fatherless, etc. So now when those little children are going to sleep hungry at night, because let's say, for instance, me and Delta Roots and Sue, we didn't leave our corners with food in it. Now y'all's like, hold on, what's going on here? These babies are crying out to me to eat. This is a superior version of SNAP and EBT, right? So Delta Rue said, I'm on child support and still do extra for my child mother. Yeah, I mean, listen, because again, and see, y'all is not mocked. When you do right, it doesn't matter. Eventually, people have to pay for the things they do wrong. It may not happen at that moment, but yeah, like I said, you do the child support and you do for the child mother. So I know you're doing it for your child because I've seen you on your videos taking your child to the parks and things like that. So, and that's always going to be a good thing or whatnot. But in this society, everything is backwards. But see, when you got married, you had a marriage vow. You vowed before Yah, the king himself, and said, hey, me and this woman Abigail, we gonna stick it out, and we gonna work through everything thick and thin. I love her, she loves me, blah 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 blah. We're gonna stay together. These are vows we make, and these are oaths before the Lord. You can't break that oath. Now, the oath can be broken if I don't fulfill my duties, which are the 3 required criteria, which is in chapter 10, Exodus Shemot, chapter 21, verses 10 and 10, and the repercussions of that in verse 11, or if you commit adultery. See, if you commit adultery, you're unalived, right? So yeah, you wouldn't need a bill of divorce because the elders of the community are the ones giving that bill of adultery. Okay. Delta Root said, marriage makes things simpler. Of course, it makes things simpler because if I live by my words and this woman knows I'm a righteous man and I live by my words, then she doesn't have to step out. She knows she's taken care of. Women look for security. Women look for protection and security, and a man to provide for them. That's what we see in Genesis and Bereshit. It says, and the woman Eve, your knee shall be unto your husband. Right? That's what it says. So what your husband is looking for, and with your husband, you're going to need things from him, and you're going to have to go to him. And now in this society, we see it's backwards. I don't need a man. I remember one time I was talking to a chick, and she was like, I don't need a man. All I need is Jesus. I said, so you need Jesus, the spirit, but you still need earthly, fleshly penis from a physical man. And it just went right over her head. Right? Just right over her head. So when you look at it from that standpoint, no, sister, like that bill of divorce is going to come from the elders of our villages and our cities where we live in. They'll know that Hezekiah is a bum. Hezekiah doesn't take care of this person. Dre Israel said, prophecy fulfilled, woman shall usurp the man, authority over the man. Well, like that's what I'm saying. So that's in this system because the people that run this system, they want chaos. They're really not even attacking us per se. We're just catching strays, right? We're just catching strays because they're really trying to attack Yah. But when it dawns on them, they can't do anything to Yah. They just say, well, let's get the next best thing, the thing that Yah loves the most, which is what? Israel. So let's break up the family. Let's put the crack in the neighborhoods. Let's give them benefits. But we'll go by there and check and make sure ain't no men's shoes in the home. So if it's a man's shoe in the home, think about that for a second. They really did that. In the 70s and stuff. They literally would go by a woman's house that was getting food stamps. Now today they don't even care. You know why? Because the damage has been done. Because that generation from the 70s, if you were born in the 70s, you're in your 50s now. Right? You're in your 50s. So if you're in your 50s, more than likely, you had a child in your 20s, so you had a couple of children, and then those children are old enough to have had children too. So that cycle is, guess what? There was no man there, and we see it all the time, especially amongst the children of Israel. We see it. You'll see a person that's in the projects that may be 3 or 4 generations in the projects on EBT and welfare. That's all intentional to destroy and crush the children of Israel. Used to have factories and stuff in the communities, businesses. Then they took all that out, stripped all of that out, right? Start shipping jobs overseas, and then said, okay, well, how y'all gonna take care of yourselves? Well, hey, ain't no jobs there, so let's put some crack in there, let's put some cocaine in there, and then of course our people. Then the gangs come trying to fight for territory, and then you got the innocent Israelites getting slaughtered, catching strays by the unrighteous Israelites. But that was all part of Esau's plans. When you look at now, and then he had our pale face brothers and sisters carry out this diabolical plan. Now watch this here. Why is it that meth, heroin, fentanyl are not huge issues in the Jewish community? Yes, Dre Israel said, government became the house, the husband, and the man of the house. And that's exactly what happened. And now guess what? Now they don't even worry about it now, because now I've already trained you not to need a man. So what do you want a man for? Well, you still want your sexual desires pushed, right? And that's why everything is overly sexualized. You can't go on social media without seeing somebody posing with a bikini on in the summertime, or tight-fitting clothes, or a sundress, toes all out, and etc., and then leaving nothing to the imagination, right? You see it everywhere. You go to the store. Sister Sue and I were talking about this earlier today, how she saw a woman at the store that had these little shorts on and just all up in her butt. She said she wanted to go to her and say, listen, where's your self-dignity? You know, but again, when I see that stuff, I don't look and stare, oh man, no, I look and like, man, my sister. Because what you're attracting is exactly what you're going to get: a bunch of baby daddies that are willing to sleep with you, willing to impregnate you and move along. Okay. And like I said, you look at the whole, you said because they're financially stable. Well, most of the women of Israel are not financially stable. It appears that way because if I'm giving you sustenance, you're not financially stable. Okay. If you're paying $8 a month in rent, in housing, you're not financially stable. That's welfare. Financially stable is my husband provides for this household. We are doing things. We can take care of our children, take care of the needs, and even some of our wants. And we have enough, we're saving to do things in case emergency happen. That's financially stable. When you look at, I think the statistics was 50% of American households can't afford a $500 expense. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. You're saying about the small hats and the drugs. Correct. Yes, because they're financially stable, but not just financially stable. They're the ones that push it. They're the ones that push it into the communities. They're the ones that bring it in. See, everybody should know who runs America by now. Esau runs America. And Esau is not the pale-faced white man. He's not. Because Obadiah says that Esau is small amongst the heathen, meaning he has to be the lowest number people small amongst the heathen. And if we look at that number, there's 14 to 15 million of a certain ethnic group that wear small hats. Correct, Dre. Can't leave generational wealth when you depend on government assistance. That's just how it works when you have that government assistance. So when we look at our brothers, we're supposed to not make whores out of the daughters of Zion. We're supposed to see young sisters and wife up young sisters and take care of them and give them a future. See, if Israelite men stopped going to the strip clubs, the sisters wouldn't strip. If Israelite men would tell their daughters, and the men outside would say, hey, what are you doing out here dressed like that? Go back in the house. We don't want to see that. If they were shamed into that, they wouldn't dress like that. But the problem is the Israelite men want to see that wickedness and debauchery. Therefore, it's only reciprocated. The women give that. Okay. That's all it is. Because remember, the woman is always going to try to cater to the man. When she says she doesn't need a man, that's just her pride and ego and her being stiff-necked, stubborn, and recalcitrant. That's just her being stiff-necked, stubborn, and recalcitrant. She does need a man. Because if you notice, all the ones that don't need man have children. How is that possible? How is it that everybody don't need a man has a child? But we're supposed to love our sisters and look out for our sisters and hold doors open for our sisters and take care of our sisters. If my wife is somewhere and something is happening, an Israelite man is supposed to help my wife. And guess what? If I'm at another store and something happened to his wife, I don't have to know her. I'm supposed to just step in for her to help her. Okay, Abigail says facts. That's what said. This is why we do not get reparations. All facts. Yeah, that's why we don't get reparations, because we're repairing. What are we being repaired for? For what we did wrong? I know people. Listen, now I'm gonna tell you, if they could have checked, I want the check, right? I'm not gonna sit there and say they couldn't have $500,000 check for me, for my wife, and my child. I'm not gonna sit there and say, well, you know what? I don't want that now. I'm gonna pull myself up by the bootstrap. Listen, this country was predicated upon slave labor, and everybody that came in looking for free handouts. Don't let nobody pull that nonsense that blacks on welfare. The most welfare place county in America is a place in Kentucky. So, but again, if you brought me here as a slave, I'm automatically a welfare recipient, because everything I get, from the tattered shirt, the tattered pants, to the intestines of the hog, to the corn, everything I get comes from the master. And I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the slave master. So by default, you put me in a position of welfare. It's a mindset, right? But the other people just left the hills and slums of Europe and just came over here and just said, hey, I want free land. I ain't did nothing for it. And then those same people get land, transfer land, they get GI Bills, they buy homes, they transfer the wealth and homes and stuff down. I'm gonna show you guys something in regards to Israelites in Boston, right? I want to show you guys something real quick, so you can see this. It's crazy. When I saw this, it just broke my heart when I saw it. So let me show you something real quick. Check this out. I'm gonna give you the average savings of an African American or Israelite household in Boston, Massachusetts, right? In Boston, Massachusetts. Okay. Now, when you see this, I know you guys are not going to be able to believe this, but this is the average. So, of course, you know, with average, you have certain people that don't. There are some people below that, some people have that, and some people are above that, because average means the middle. So let me ask you guys a question before I even show this on the screen. If I had to ask you, what do you think for a Israelite man and woman, for Abigail and her husband living in Boston, what's the average savings amount you think they have? Put the dollar amount in the chat and post that and show me what you got. Just an educated guess. I want all three of you guys, Dre Israel, I want Delta Roots, and of course Abigail Williams. I want you guys to put just an educated guess. What do you think? Okay, Abigail says 500. All right, and then she put the LOL on it. All right, so she said 500. Okay, what you got, Delta, and what you got, Dre, and what you got, Sue? Okay, Dre Israel kind of pushed it up there a little bit and said 4K. Okay, 4K. All right, what you got, Delta? Okay, Delta says 1,200. Are y'all ready to be shocked and amazed? Okay, so Sue, don't you say it, Sue. I think you and I probably talked about it, Sue, if I'm not mistaken, didn't we? Yep. It's literally $8. $8. The most complicated story behind one of the most repeated statistics about Boston. $8. It is one of the most mentioned statistics in Massachusetts politics. In 2015, study found the median net worth for white households in Greater Boston was $250,000, $250K. For black families, it was just $8. $8. $8. Now, think about this for a second. If how much does a hamburger meal cost? It has to cost like $14, $15, right? So the savings of the children of Israel in Boston, if they went in their accounts and pulled their savings out, the average, not all, but the average, meaning the middle majority, almost the majority. Okay, Desru said 10. That means they couldn't even buy that with their life savings. That's intentional. Okay, that's intentional. So Abigail said 500, LOL. Okay, you was $492 off, right? Too much. My brother Dre Israel said 4K, $3,992 off. And then Delta Ruth says 1,200, 11,000, 1,100, 900, I mean $1,192 off. And you know, Sue came in and she hit it $8 on the head. So think about that for a second. $8. And look at y'all responses. Wow, damn. Right? Think about that for a second. So now you got a people that are literally don't know where their next meal is going to come from. So they have to be on some type of government subsidy. That's intentional. That's intentional. And that's what Yah is going to rectify. And we're starting to see now that other people are now starting to struggle more and more. Deltruz said, I'm thinking about getting me a house next summer, y'all willing. Deltruz, I can tell you this here. If you get you a house, wait, because it's always boom, bust, crash. Oh, yeah, you in New Orleans. That's why, yeah. Yeah, you in New Orleans. But if you get you a house, wait till the market crashes, because it's always boom, bust, crash. Now the houses are going up, but people can't afford it. They don't have the money. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Dre Israel said, especially with this new financial system rolling out. Correct. So what you'll do is you should just wait. Abigail Williams said, kind of about to be crazy. Yep, finally, yeah. And that's it. Like, so when you look at it from that standpoint, with the economy, boom, bust, crash. It's always a boom. Things go up. There's a bust. Everybody's like, what's going on? What's going on? And then it crashes. And when it drops down, that dollar amount for that house is gonna fall. Then you'll be able to go in and get it at the lowest possible amount. You don't want to. It's just like stocks. You don't want to buy high. You want to buy it when it's its lowest. So you want to buy it when it crashes. Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah, I know you said crazy. You talking about crash. I understand what you meant, Abigail. Yeah, it's about to crash. So yeah, you want to look at it from that standpoint. You know, just different things like that or whatnot. So, all right. So I got kind of sidetracked a little bit. So we're dealing with the judgments, right? So we're dealing with the judgments of sin. So you asked about also. You said, well, dealing with the judgments of sin. You said, and I'm gonna look at it right here. You said, you put in the deal. You said, hold on, let me go back. Okay. You said Christianity states that all sins are the same. There are no differences. And you said, does Yah look at certain sins differently from others? Most definitely. Like, again, adultery. If Abigail steals something, Texas flood renters gold and silver is lawful money. Dre Israel, I'm here in Louisiana. I think they have in Louisiana as well. But I know Arkansas as well, because Sue and I was talking about this last year. When they actually went through and did it. So, but that's why you're seeing a lot of the southern states. So guess what? And if you guys don't know this, you know, we always talk about whatever you can, buy some silver. Gold is more expensive, but if you can buy some silver, if you can buy an ounce of silver or a couple ounces, whatever you can afford, get you some silver. Right now, Sue and I was talking about today, I think silver was trading at $38.46. That's what silver is trading at. And here's the crazy part, right? I'm going to show you guys something real quick. Let me go to my channel. I made a video about 4 years ago talking about silver and stuff like that. And you know, and you know, the silver and things like that or whatnot. And I want to show you guys something real quick. And this will show you how scary it is and how the system is basically crashing right before your eyes. But like Sue and I was talking on the phone earlier today, and as we were talking, you know, everybody's waiting on this big crash to come through where it's just you wake up one morning and there's just people out in the streets, right? So let me find this for you real quick. I want to show you guys something. I'm gonna show you how crazy this is, right? Let me show you how crazy this is. And I'm going to show you. Okay. So now let me go back and so I can show you guys this real quick. So check this out. So this is a video I made 5 years ago. It's called "What is Real Money and Why Don't Israel Have Any?"
So you're seeing it change live right before.
Right? In this video that I'm showing you guys on the screen, I don't know why it's not even showing in high definition. That's 360p. Okay, here we go. In this video, I go through and I explain. You can probably see it right there on the screen. Let me see something real quick if you guys can see what I'm seeing. Right there on the screen. Hold on one second. Okay, so right there on the screen, you can probably see it right there. That silver was going for $17 an ounce at that point. Okay. So yeah, Dre said he knows about that video, made him go out and buy silver. Yeah, so just get you some, because remember that was $17. Okay. So yeah, Delta Rouge, you want to definitely, if you can, get it. And specifically, I'll say silver, because if everything was to crash and it's to the point where you're trying to buy and sell, then if you're hungry enough, your one gold coin that may be worth whatever, I can get that from you for, you know, for a gold coin. I can sell you 2 bags of potatoes. If you're starving, you're going to give it up because you can't eat gold. But if you got silver, which is in lower denominations, typically you want to buy like 1 ounce, 1 troy ounce or whatnot, you could take that and say, okay, I'm gonna buy a week's worth of groceries with this. Now, what I'm gonna show you guys this, and it was $17. So let me show you here. Hold on one second. So let me show you this here. So if you go to JM Bullion right now, as you can see at the very top, silver is actually trading, and it went up, which is weird because on a Sunday it typically stays static, but it went up. Let me maximize it so you guys can see it. As you can see right here, silver right here in the middle is at $38.85. Now think about that for a second. When I made this video, that video I just showed you guys 5 years ago, it was $17. Now an ounce, 1 silver coin is worth $38.85. So it wouldn't be a bad idea if you can afford to get a few ounces or whatever you can afford to get every time you get to handle some money, and start getting you some. You can have some sitting on. I know times is hard and you want to, because trust me, it's been times where I want to take some of the silver and just try to take care of some things and sell it, but I'm just trying my best to fight it. So with that being the case, because you know when it crashes, you're going to wish you had it, right? You're going to wish you had it when it crashes. So that's one of the things you want to really focus on. You want to focus on taking care of your wife, your children. And this is like providing raiment, providing food, and providing, you know, the rest of her marriage duties, right? But you want to take care of that. You said, I disagree with you on buying silver because the system credit is good to have your own land, be away from the city. But other people don't have gold, silver, who you trade with and people. Okay, so think about it like this here. If you have your own land and you're away from the city, No man can be an island unto himself, right? Meaning, if you're just out there by yourself, you're going to be extremely paranoid, no human contact. Trust me, because as human beings, we're social creatures, but we're social creatures around people that are like us, like-minded. Like, of course, you can't be a social creature in that time frame if you can't be a social creature in that time frame if somebody doesn't keep the law, statutes, commandments, precepts, ordinances, and judgments. So I give an example. I know you. I know Sue. I know Dre Israel. I know Abigail Williams, right? So if something happened, I can assist you because I know you. I know the standard you live by. I know what you do in your spare time. I know you seek Yah. So the chances of you harming me to take what I have is slimmer than me just helping somebody I went to high school with, right? 25, 26 years ago. And now I'm going to, I know you because we was teenagers. No. That doesn't mean anything. So now when the system does crash, if I'm growing tons of food, listen, let's just look at what happened to our forefathers in Israel. When you looked at when the famine came, what did Yaakov, old man Israel, do? He sent Judah and those boys down to Egypt to buy grain with silver and gold. So now, if you know a farmer and you got your own land, well, you need seeds. So where are you going to get seeds from? If you don't have that stuff now, where are you going to get it from? So yeah, you want to, and like Dre said, the barter system, which you'll utilize, correct. So now, if I sit there and say, let's say Dre is growing food. Now, let's say Dre and I are neighbors, because I got a neighbor next door. Well, both my neighbors next door, we're pretty cool and close. We watch out for each other, right? So let's just say, for instance, Abigail is on the right-hand side and Dre is on this side. And let's say, Delta, you're across the street. So I'm growing food. Y'all are growing food. We're all taking care of each other. We see posses and mobs coming. We help each other. Well, guess what? If you need food, I'll give you food. If I have it, I'll give it to you, just like you would give it to me if I have it. But if I find a farmer that's willing to sell us food, well, he's not going to take dollars. Do you guys remember that movie that came out last year? I think I'm going to watch it tonight. It was the movie when the guy said, "What kind of American are you?" You guys know what I'm talking about? You guys know what I'm talking about? He said, "What kind of American are you?" And dang, what's the name of that? Let me see something. Let me see something. Hold on 1 second. Civil War, right? Civil War. Okay, that's Civil War. Okay, so in the movie Civil War, remember in one of the scenes, the woman was trying to buy a sandwich and she tried to buy it in dollars, and the guy said, no, I need that in Canadian, not dollars. So see, if it crashes, I can come and say, look, I go to a farm and say, look, you growing a lot of food, you know for a fact, if you sell me food, I'm going to help you because I need you to keep making food because my family is dependent on you. So if you sell me food, what are you're not going to want dollars, but here's silver. Silver is God's money, God's currency. We paid a temple tax for silver. In Genesis, it said was the gold of that land is good. So this is the real money. This is real money. That's why my video was called "What is Real Money and Why Does Israel Not Know What Real Money Is?" My sons, they're young, 12 and 13 now. At that time, they were 9 and 8. They tell you, yeah, real money is silver and gold, because that's what I taught them. So you want to have that to be able to barter with. Because remember, if you have a lot of dollars in Germany, there was a time in Germany where people would have a wheelbarrow full of money to go buy something. They come back outside, the money is on the ground. They done stole the wheelbarrow. I am not joking. Right? And then, of course, there's some stores that don't even take cash anymore. Right now in America, there's stores that don't take cash. And there's some people that want, when you try to trade the dollar, because the dollar is just losing value, and it's going to keep losing value because they keep printing money. Abigail says, is that not why would have to flee into the wilderness? No, you don't have to flee into a wilderness. Remember, the wilderness is when you talk about in Zechariah, that wilderness is the wilderness of the people. That's where we are right now. We're in the wilderness. We're not in the land of Israel. And we're going to be judged here in the wilderness. That's why you see our brothers and sisters that don't keep the laws. What you don't see on TV is people wearing fringes laying down in the street dead. You don't see that. So our brothers and sisters that keep the laws, statutes, commandments, precepts, ordinances, and judgments, they are literally being protected by Yah in this time frame. And it's best that we link up with like-minded people as well. You see, that's what you do. Because you can't run into the wilderness. And okay, so you run into the wilderness in the middle of the night and you're living on some land. And let's just say, I'm going to make myself a wicked person at this point. And I grab my Kalashnikov, my AK-47, and I have an AOTech scope on it with night vision. And you're in the wilderness. You don't have no electricity. I can get up on you and you wouldn't even have a clue. And that's also why it's very good for women to have a husband, because you're going to need that. All that I don't need a man, Yah is not mocked. For Yah is not mocked. When people say that women say they don't need a man, they're going to learn real soon they need a man. During COVID, they saw it. You would go in the store, you would see, and it was sad because you would see sisters trying to get the last case of water. They just couldn't get it because the guy just was like, nope, it's mine. I saw that. And I would like, you know what you want? And I would just go get it for him. And then, you know, dudes are different. So when I'm like, hey, man, I'm getting it for her. And they were like, okay, well, man, okay, let me get him. It was like that. So she saw then. This is one of these. And I'm not saying she was an independent sister because she probably wasn't. I'm just saying, but what if she was? She learned at that moment that, hey, it is best to have a man. Okay. Square Biz said, no, I don't know what that is in relationship to. Clarify, Square Biz. Dre Israel says silver and gold is accepted worldwide, dollar not so. Yeah. And then it says BRICS nations are dumping dollar, stockpiling gold and silver. Right. So if you see the other world, the supposed next pole superpowers, because we got next, but the next pole superpowers stocking silver and gold, then what do you think you should be doing? Like I said, I know gold is expensive, so I tell people all the time, you know, it's easy to get in. And people say, well, man, think about this here. If $38 for a coin is going to hurt you now, well, it's never going to change. It's going to go up because I just showed you it was $17. So $21, the dollar lost its value that much where the same item is now $21 more expensive. And you're seeing it in the cost of your foods. You can look at, check this out. I'm going to show you guys something real quick. Oh, Oh, 1997. All right. So from 1970, in 1970, $20 was equivalent to $165 today. That's an increase of $145.70 over 55 years. Now, let me show you what that looks like. And this is you kind of look at it sad, but I don't want to see that. Nope, not trying to go there. Well, anyway, as you can see here, in the 1998, let me go back and make sure you guys can see it. In 1998, right down there, let me remove that. Okay. And the banner. Well, the first batch to the left is 1998. That's $20 because that's about $165 worth of stuff. Okay. That's 1998, but you're looking at time as it go down. So you could actually get more than that. And then, of course, you see this time frame here in the middle. That's from the year 2005. So $20 would get you that. And then you see 2013 on the side. And as you guys know now, when you go into the grocery store now, you can't get a log of ground beef for under $20. Just one lamb, you know. And there's tons of different, I've shown people TikTok videos of people saying, man, how are you buying this stuff? They go in and spend $300. Or some people would have the Walmart app, the Instacart, where they'll show last year they bought this, and then this year it's like another $80 for the same amount of stuff, and just in a year. So, you know, think about it from that standpoint. I think Donald Trump was sent to hurt the U.S. within, especially in the Gentile nation. Who best to do so? Some waking up, their privilege running out. Oh yeah, that's definitely what it is. Because I've told people all the time, brothers, I can show you brothers that literally, we talk behind the scenes. He's like, man, I remember you telling me that you were glad Trump got in because now this thing is going to expedite and get worse. And he was like, and I'm not, listen, I'm not even a Democrat. I'm not a Republican either. I have more conservative views, obviously, because I'm an Israelite. Like, I don't believe in same-sex marriage. I don't believe in taxation and taking everything that I work for. I don't believe, I believe in the creator of heaven and earth, right? So my views are conservative. I believe a man should be with a woman, etc. I believe a child should grow up in a two-parent household. Those are conservative views, but those are just really Israel views. That's the law. So it's not a matter of, like, I've never voted for a president. I've never voted Democrat ever. I've never, but or even Republican president at that point. But even still, I just know that whatever it is we're into, we should really be doing the best we can for ourselves, lining it up with the scriptures. And I've always been like that. So yeah, he was definitely saying, and then the brother was like, I didn't see it, man, when you said. He said, but I see it now. I said, yeah. And you feel it. Everybody feel it. Like, it's hard to get car parts for vehicles. So it's wild. The time we're living in is wild, and it's only going to get worse. Like I said, I showed you from COVID, from when COVID came through in 2019 or 2020. When I did that video right after COVID, in 2020, and I showed you how in 2020 that it was $17 and something cents an ounce, and now it's $38. That's a $21 increase. $21 in a matter of 4.5 years. That's crazy. So now you see why that $21 increase, that's what you're seeing in the grocery stores for parts for your cars, for movie tickets. You know, you go to the movie theaters, a bucket of popcorn is $12, $10, $11, $12. Right? Okay, TT, what's up, brother? But remember, even if we obtain gold and silver, it is Yah who provides for us and keeps us. Then we do our part, we only put you. Oh yeah, that's almost definitely. You put your trust in Yah, but I look at it like this here. If I'm hungry right now, I can tell my wife Katrina to fix me something to eat, right? But if I don't have any food in there, I don't care how hungry I say I am, or if there's food, somebody has to still get up and make it, prepare it, the whole nine. Just like we were talking, Sue and I was talking about this earlier. Correct. You don't vote for nobody, especially unless they're Israelite. You don't vote for nobody, no oppressor to rule over you. That's the law. So you got to follow the law. Right. So, but like I was telling, me and Sue was talking about earlier today. And hold on one second. You said, Dre, you said scripture says wisdom shall be a skill of time. So we must do our part. Correct. Because that stability comes from us having the wisdom. And what is wisdom? Knowledge that is applied. Because when you know something, you have to apply it. Right. So that's wisdom should be the stability of our time. Wisdom is the principal thing. Without that get understanding. You get understanding by doing. By trying to go through the process, you get understanding. That's how you get knowledge and accrue knowledge and wisdom. So you have to do, like we were talking about earlier, like Sue and I was talking, I mentioned that the children of Israel, they go out and fight. But Yah could fight for us, but no, he's like, no, go out there. I'm with you though. Because he's trying to raise us up to be sufficient and know that we trust only in him. So the New Testament, I don't like quoting the New Testament, but it says it like this: faith without works is dead. You got to do something, right? Oh yeah, I understood what you were saying. The WT, I knew it was we. That's why I said we must do our part. So like I said, so those are the things. So yeah, you want to get that because, like I said, when you're able to get it now, Yah will put people in positions, if you're following Yah, that you'll be able to trade and barter with and things like that. And just like our father Abraham, and like Sue said earlier, Sue told me a story. She was talking about it was a guy that, I hope Sue don't mind me telling this story. But it was a guy that came by home, a handyman, and Sue had asked him to put some drape rods up for him because he was like installing a toilet and things like that. So Sue, you can just stop me if I don't need to tell. I'll give you an example of what you were saying earlier today. And Sue took a cue from Abraham. The guy was like, he was kind of busy, but then he came back, and then he was out there waiting. He did the job for Sue after he came back. Maybe he felt, kind of embarrassed a little bit. Okay, thank you, Sue. Said no worries. The guy came back, and then when he was getting ready to leave, Sue was gonna pay him for putting up the drape rods, and she was like, "Here's $100." And he was like, no. She's like, no. And Sue understands the assignment because that's what Abraham did. You pay people for their labor. Even if they say it's okay. No, it's not. Because that's time they could have been doing something. And when you start doing things like that, that's honorable. And the Most High sees that, and the people see it, and then she's known as being honorable, an honorable woman. So when she does that, eventually he takes whatever case may be. So guess what? That gesture of kindness, if she comes around and say, hey, can you do X, Y, and Z for me? He won't have a problem because he knows that she lives by a code that she takes care of her obligations and duties. Simple. All right. So and we were talking about the sins. So let me give you an example. The Christians say the sins are all the same, whatever case may be. Genesis 9:6. It says, whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for it is the image of God made he man. Shemot 21:12. That's Exodus 21:12. He that smiteth a man so that he die shall surely be put to death. So I'm showing you some judgments. Remember, Abraham had the law, statutes, and commandments. And Abraham taught all of his children, because that's what Yah said. Yah said, and I know for certain that Abraham would teach his children my ways. But Abraham didn't have a land. He was living in Canaan land. He didn't have a promised land. It was given to him, but he didn't get the promised land. That was for his descendants, Israel, Isaac, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Israel, then to the 12 tribes, or the 13 tribes that are now scattered abroad. So Shemot 21:17, Exodus 21:17, and he that curses his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. And that's not cursing like cursing out. That's like putting a curse on your mother and father. A curse, trying to put a curse on your mother and father. Put to death. Witchcraft anyway, right? All witches must not be suffered to live. Exodus 21:15. He that smiteth his father, right, or his mother shall be put to death. You slap your mama, you slap your daddy, instantly put to death. Shemot 22:19. Exodus. Whosoever lies with a beast shall surely be put to death. Bestiality, put to death. Abomination. YHWH chapter 20 verse 10. And the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall be surely put to death. These are judgments. You got laws, statutes, and commandments. So when I can't just tell you something without a repercussion. And those are the judgments. So you get the precepts, the ordinances, the city ordinances, like we had to put a battlement on our roof and things like that when we made our house. We had to put a battlement up there so somebody fell and died off your roof, you could put to death. So you have to have a battlement to make sure they were safe. They wouldn't fall off. And then, of course, the judgments. So now we're reading the judgments for breaking said laws. And that's what Moshe gave us. Abraham didn't have those. Okay. And then it says, look, YHWH 20:10, that's the adultery. YHWH chapter 20, verse 13, that's Leviticus. If a man lie with mankind as he lies with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. See, so we see what the system is pushing right now. All this foolishness, right? Perversion, etc. Hadabarim chapter 28, verses 18 through 21. That's Deuteronomy. Hadabarim. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which obey not the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened him, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him and bring him unto the elders of the city. Now, you see the elders of the city, that's the same thing we did, Abigail, when you were asking me about the man not meeting the 3 requirements in marriage, which is what? The raiment, the food, and the sexual obligation of marriage. So when the man doesn't meet those things, we would go, like I said, you would go before the village elders or the chief elders. And we're reading about that right now here. And how do I read 21:18 through 21? So I'm gonna read it again. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened him, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and mother lay hold on him and bring him to the elders of the city and unto the gate of the place. And they shall say unto the elders of the city. See, so you come and say that, just like if you were getting divorced, you go to the elders of the city and say, hey, look, because remember, the elders are the ones going to sit, is to mete out the judgment. They're going to sit to say, no, Abigail, he wasn't, they're going to say, okay, Dre Yisrael and Abigail were married, but Dre Yisrael wasn't fulfilling his duties as a husband. They came before us 10 years ago or a year ago, whatever. So they would be the ones that would sit there and say, yes, you have to be stoned. A stoning just doesn't happen. Because if you just stone someone and you're wrong, you get put to death too. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. It's the same way, right? YHWH chapter 20, verse 27. A man, also a woman that have a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones, the blood shall be upon them. How do I read 22 and 24? Then ye shall bring them unto the gate of the city, and ye shall stone them with stones, that they die. The damsel, because she cried out, being in the city, and the man, because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So thou shalt put away evil from among you. Yeah, you said like the book of Susanna, but those are apocryphal books. And so the apocryphal books, literally, they don't have the authorship. We don't know who actually wrote them, and a lot of them have a lot of wrong information in them as well. So like it's like the book of Hosanna. That's why they're called apocryphal. Apocryphal literally means pseudographical or fake. Pseudo. They're fake. Like Wisdom of Solomon's. If you go to Wisdom of Solomon's in that in the apocryphal books, Solomon didn't write that. You may even find things that are logical in them, but I'm just saying they're not. I don't want to say canon because people say, well, that's the pale man that made that up. No, they're not from Yah. But you may find things in there, it'd be interesting to read, but they're not from Yah. So let's go to YHWH 24:16, Leviticus. And he that blasphemed the name of the Lord, he shall be put to death, and all the congregation shall certainly stone him, as well as the stranger, as he is born in the land. When he blasphemed the name of Yah, he should be put to death. He'll be unalive, right? And that's what I was saying earlier. I made a short video about blasphemy. What is blasphemy? So you guys can check that out if you want to. Now, here's the differences in judgments, because Christians will say all sin is the same. No, it's not true, because I just read a lot of judgments, not all, of some that get you unalive for violating these things. But then if you're stealing, what is the punishment for stealing? The punishment for stealing is what? You have to pay back sevenfold, in some cases, double, etc. You have to pay back what you took. Like in the book of Proverbs, it says that if a man is caught stealing, don't despise him if he's trying to eat and feed himself. But if he's caught, he got to pay back sevenfold. All right. But we don't despise them. And you kind of see that today when you see homeless people and you may be out and see them try to steal something to eat. You be like, when I be at work and I see people come into the store, into my store, and they'll come and they'll do something like try to take something. I'm like, I just look at them like, well, you look at the situation, right? I'm not going to call the police on the man that stole, some sandwich meat or something, right? Exodus, Shemot 21:12-14. He that smiteth a man so that he should die shall surely be put to death. And if a man lie in wait, so if a man lie not in wait, this is Shemot 12. This is verse 13. 21 verse 13. Exodus 21:13. If a man lie not in wait, so let's just say, for instance, I'm just sitting in the house and I'm chilling, and I'm right here in my office at the back of the house, and I hear something out there, and somebody try to come in, and I unalive him. That's not murder, because I wasn't trying to do that to him. And it says, so verse 30, it says, if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver him in his hand, then I will point thee a place where he shall flee. And you got the city of refuge, where you can go to the city of refuge. But even at the same time, if they know you in the community, people gonna know, like, well, hold on, where were you? I was at home. Where did you kill him at? He came in my house. He made it all the way through the house to the bedroom, my boy's bedroom, or my wife's, our bedroom, and I had to unalive him. You said why they lock Dove soap in the back, but every other soap they have a front. So the Dove soap, because it's more desired or whatnot. Dove soap is more desired. Don't nobody want no Irish cheap, right? Irish cheap. And then you look at the price of Dove versus Ivory, like a bar of Ivory or whatnot. All right, so then we go into lusting. So what is lusting? Because lusting, now this is the third portion of what you were talking about, Del Tarus. You were talking about lusting, because you were talking about, let me go back and read it one more time for you so you can see it. I'll read it for you. Hold on one second. Let me minimize this real quick. Okay, yeah, you said a man looking at another sister sexually in his mind versus a man sleeping with another man. So I think I answered the question as far as in regards to sins being different. Like there's different punishment for different sins. Like if you touch that Ark of the Covenant, you're not a Levite, you die. Right? You steal a honey bun out of the store, you don't die. Right? If you steal something from your neighbor, you don't die, but you have to give up all the stuff in your house, paying back sevenfold. So Yah's trying to keep us honorable, right? All right. So now dealing with that piece, looking at another man sexually. I mean, not another man, oh Lord. A man looking at another sister sexually in his mind versus a man sleeping with another man. Because the law says adultery is literally sleeping with another man's wife. So now here's the thing about lust. Lust is really not negative or positive. It can have a negative connotation to it if you apply a negative connotation to it. What I mean by that, if it becomes your modus operandi, your driving force for doing something. So let's say, for instance, give an example. Let's say you work with a sister and you like her. She seems well put together. She seems like she takes care of herself. She seems like she's honorable, etc. And you really want her. That lust in that aspect is nothing wrong with that. Now, obviously, if you do, yeah, because lust means that's the desire. So you said, if I find a sister sexually attractive, then JC said I'm an adulterer, right? That's not logical, because think about it. We know Sarah was very, very beautiful. Y'all remember? I'm gonna tell you, y'all remember the movie Ray? How Ray couldn't see. They want to also be Ray, just go around grabbing women's wrists. We, just okay. Well, she's slim. We don't know, don't she got a disease or nothing else, right? You just grabbing people's wrists trying to see how slim they are. No, that is not what Yah wants us to do. So Yah makes women beautiful. And to a man, a woman is going to be beautiful. Her feminine nature is going to be beautiful. How she carries herself feminine is going to be beautiful. If she's masculine, it's like looking at another dude. And vice versa. If a woman is feminine, when she sees a strong, mature man, she's going to be enticed by that as well. That lust just means what I want, what you desire. So JC said, so think about it. Based upon JC, they're trying to make it where everything a person does is a sin. So you need JC. That's the problem with that thing. But the truth is, that's not even remotely logical. We look at our forefather Yaakov. What did he say? Our forefather Yaakov said he looked at Rachel and she was beautiful to him. So beautiful. He said, man, I'll work 7 years for her. Now think about that. Think about how much lust and desire that is. That I will work 7 years for her. Then it says Leah was tender-eyed. I mean, she had beautiful eyes. But Rachel, obviously, to him, looked better. And they were sisters. Now, the law came later, but the law on sisters, you're not supposed to marry sisters because they vex each other, right? And that's the law Moshe gave us. But, of course, when Yaakov did it, it existed, but people were kind of freestyling stuff too, okay? So, yeah, if you look at a woman, so that lust, and so let's and if you look at the 613 laws and you look at lust, the one closest to us would be covet. See, lusting can turn into coveting or covetous, right? So when you covet, that's what I say, you know what? Abigail's husband has a nice SUV. I want that. Not I like that. I might get me one. You know, I'm gonna save up and get me one. That's not coveting. That coveting is why y'all blessed her with that. Why her family got that. Why I don't have that. That's coveting your neighbor's possession. Or if Delta Roots is, you're sitting there and you're saying, oh man, I really want Abigail. Her husband, he better not slip up. That's coveting. That's a sin. Because you're proposing in your heart. And then what did it say in Proverbs 23:7? For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. As you think in your heart, so are you. So you got to try to curb that lust and make sure it doesn't turn into coveting. Because when you start turning into coveting, that's a whole different ball game. Now you're literally, thou shalt not covet. You're literally going into sin category. But if you sit there and say, you know what, I want this beautiful sister, and I'm going to talk to her tomorrow, and I'm going to make sure I look my best, etc. Nothing wrong with that. Now, of course, you can flip it. We see people all the time. They get rejected by a woman, then they end up hurting the woman and mistreating the woman, and sometimes unaliving the woman. So you gotta check that lust, that it doesn't lead to sin. Just like eating food. Eating food is not a sin, but eating food continuously, gluttonous becomes a sin. Just like spanking your child isn't a sin, but then you just start beating on your child because you're an alcoholic. That's a sin. The scriptures tell us crystal clear, we're not supposed to provoke our children. We're not supposed to look for occasions to make, to provoke them. Okay. So when you look at it from that standpoint, that's lust. So the lust can lead to the coveting. And that's the thing we got to kind of look at. And that goes against the laws of Yah when you start doing the lusting. So then here's a couple more scriptures. Exodus 22:3. If the sun rises upon him, so let's say, for instance, you get caught stealing, and there shall be blood shed for him, for he shall make full restitution, meaning you got caught stealing in the sun. Let's say I came in your house and the sunlight come out and I caught you, boom. Everybody see us crystal clear. Not we think Hezekiah did it. We saw Hezekiah coming out that it was morning time. Then it's on you. You have to sacrifice, and that's what Exodus 22 is about, verse 3. And then you got to make a full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. So if you ain't got nothing, then you get sold for your theft. Verse 4, if the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. That's what I was telling you about earlier. So now you got to pay back double. You don't get put to death, though. See, the judgments are different. All sins are different. Stealing doesn't constitute being put to death, whereas adultery put to death. Homosexuality, unalived. Right? Blasphemy, unalived. Proverbs 6:30. Men do not despise thieves. A thief, if he steal to satisfy his soul when he is hungry. Verse 31. But if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold. He shall give all the substance of his house. See that? So we're not supposed to despise him when he's hungry, but if he get caught, he's supposed to restore sevenfold. And if you don't have the sevenfold on him, the stuff in his house gotta come sevenfold. See, the whole point is Yah knows human nature, but he's gonna put brick walls to prevent certain things from happening. Okay. Delta Rule says food can be tender because I see some juice ribs. I remember how they taste. Abigail says, what? Laugh out loud, I thought we could eat ribs. Well, you can't eat pork ribs. You can eat beef ribs. And I love beef ribs. I'll go out there and barbecue and put beef ribs on the grill. Crystal clear. So he's yeah. But I'm about to say, she about to come out with a knife on you, boy. Abigail coming out with a knife. Get him, Abigail. Abigail, but no, I knew what he's talking about. But I know a guy that actually sells. Again, like if this system went down and money is down, I know you could go to him with silver. He's a farmer and he sells beef ribs and stuff like that. Yep, YHWH chapter 11, correct. YHWH chapter 11, verse 7. No pork, swine, though he divide the hoof. He's cloven-footed. He is unclean. Is an abomination to you. Don't even touch his carcass. Correct, Abigail. So that's that dealing with the lusting. So I'm glad I answered. I hope I answered that. Insufficiency, showing the difference between sins as well. So those were your three. And then the brother TT, he came. Let me see if I had his. Let me see something real quick. I'm trying to remember what he had asked, because I wrote down what he asked me. Oh, he asked me about Bereshit 3 and 15, and then Proverbs. Yeah. And then before I close that piece out, you know, you can look at ways the word lust is not used in a negative connotation. Like for instance, Psalms 81 and 12. So I gave them up unto their own hearts, lust, and they walked in their own counsel. See, so lust, your own lust, but you can have it's just depending on how you look at it from a scriptural or law standpoint, right? So that's the biggest thing with that. So that's that. Okay, let's see. So let me look at the ones I made for the brother TT. Okay, so in Bereshit chapter 3, verse 15, let me just go there. I know you're talking about Bereshit 3 and 15, so let me just go there. In Bereshit 3 and 15, let's see. Let me stop sharing that. And let me share my eSword. And I can kind of speed through this one here. Won't be that bad. All right, so in Bereshit, chapter 3, verse 15. Genesis 3, 15. So let's go down. And it says, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Okay. Burger Sleuth says, Jesus the truth, hell is real. We all sin. He died on the cross. Put your faith in him alone to save you. All right. I guess, brother. I mean, if that's what you're into, we're not into idolatry here. We don't follow the Most High. If you go back and read Yeshaya chapter 43, verse 11, there's only one Savior. That's Yah. So that's either true or it's not. And the Creator said that himself. So either the Creator, you're blaspheming, saying the Creator's a liar, or you're just unlearned. Just that simple. Thank you, Sue. Sue hit him up real quick. JC is not real. Yeah. And who is Jesus anyway? Like, that's not even a name. That's English. Like what are we doing here? And saves from what? What have he saved you from? So, I don't know how you even found your way to this page, but either way, that's fine. That's fine. All right, so let's go to Bereshit chapter 3, verse 15. All right, so now looking at Bereshit 3 and 15, does everybody kind of have a grasp on that this is really not a snake, right? You guys know this is not a snake, right? Like just put a 1 in the chat if you know it's not a snake, and a 2 in the chat if you think it's a snake. Yep, Sue Sprain, she got a 1. TT got a 1. We're just waiting on Abigail and Delta Roots. Burger Sleuth says, JC saves, our works don't. So do you just live like a heathen? You just do what you want to do, huh? But remember, in the New Testament, what does it say? Faith without works is dead. I guess. It's crazy because y'all don't really even know the New Testament. And we know the New Testament better than you guys know the New Testament. Faith without works is dead. You have to do works. You can't just sit in the house and be fat and not do nothing to not offend anyone. No one can die for your sins. There's even the proverb, the Most High said that the proverb should never longer be used. The father eats sour grapes and the children's teeth are set on edge. Ezekiel, correct, TT, Ezekiel. Okay, you said this is what I didn't understand. Okay, so all right, so it's not a snake. It's not an akash. This is metaphorical. It's not a snake. Let me give you guys an example. If you think about this logically, what was the name of the fruit that Eve was given by the serpent and then gave to her husband? What was the name of that fruit? What tree was it from? The tree of what? The tree of blank, and evil. What's the name of that tree? Yep, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now watch this here for a second. Let's just say, let me grab something real quick. All right, I'll grab my microphone. And what I got at the tub of my hands, I asked you. All right, so yeah, TT, knowledge of good and evil, right? All right, so now check this out. This microphone represents the knowledge of good and evil. Until I sing on this microphone, I have no knowledge of good and evil. Does that make sense so far? Don't leave me hanging, y'all. Don't leave me hanging. I do one better. Let me grab something real quick. No. All right. This I got you, Abigail. We'll get there. This, I went in my garden today and I picked this tomato. This tomato comes from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So in this fruit, because you guys know tomatoes are fruit, in this fruit is the knowledge of what? Good and evil. So until I eat this, based on the way you guys understand it, I don't have any knowledge of what? Good and evil. So as long as that tree is sitting there nice and pretty with that fruit on it, if you take this literally, then that means the knowledge of good and evil is in this fruit. If you see it that way literally, which means Adam and Eve, before they ate it, they didn't know God was good or the serpent was evil. It's not possible, right? Because the knowledge of good, knowing good and evil is here. Okay? So until they ate of that, they didn't know good or evil. All right. So now we're finna get somewhere. So now the knowledge of good and evil is in the fruit. That's not literal. The fruit they're talking about is zarah. It's the child aspect of it. So Adam was not Cain's father. Don't you find it funny that there's no children? The serpent comes to Eve. Then all of a sudden, one of the points the Most High pointed out to her is that, listen, when you have a baby, it's going to hurt. Why? Because she slept with that man that wasn't a serpent. Even women today, I got you, Abigail. I got you. Because some of the topics you're bringing up, they're like They're easily to prove it. It's easy to debunk them, right? But I just want to clear this piece here with him real quick. His 2 points. So so now when you look at Eve, she goes to the person that's in the garden. Because remember, Adam and Eve are not the first people. We know that basically because when Cain does what he does, he says, whoever find me gonna kill me. Then it says Cain leaves and goes east and Nod and gets a wife. No, so Adam and Eve were not the first people like the New Testament claims. The Most High raised up Adam from a dirt low state and put him eastward in the garden. It says that in Genesis. So he separated him. Adam is no different than Israel. Israel is not the first nation either. We're the last nation. So the Most High took Adam and breathed into him what? The breath of life. And what did the Most High say? If you keep my laws, you shall what? Live. That's what the breath of life does. So Adam was the first man to be given the laws, statutes, and commandments. And when he was given those laws, statutes, and commandments, now Adam has insight. So it's not about knowledge of good and evil being in a fruit tree, because that would be cruel and wicked for the Most High to attack Adam for doing a sin, and he don't even know what good, sin, good righteousness is, or sin, evil is, because it's in the fruit. So we know that's not the case. So now all of a sudden, Cain comes on the scene. Cain comes on the scene. He's the eldest. He's the serpent seed. People have heard this all this time. They just don't make the correlation. So now, with that being the case, you come back and you look at the Genesis 3:15, and I will put enemy between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. Well, her seed now is from Adam, because that was her wife. His wife. Now watch this here. Notice this. To show you this was adultery. To show you that this was about adultery. It's real easy to prove. When Eve ate the fruit, what happened? When Eve ate the fruit, the serpent said, and she said, it's good to make somebody wise, etc. What happened when she ate the fruit? Do we need to go there? Let's go there. Let's go there and let's take a look at it, right? All right. No, Abigail, you're moving too fast. Abigail, you're moving too fast. That's not what happened. Nothing happened. The answer is nothing happened. Okay, so watch this here. I'm gonna show you guys something. Check this out that people don't notice. Verse 3, it says, but the fruit of the tree, which is in the midst of the garden, midst means middle, meaning every time they walked by, no matter where they went around, it's in the middle, they saw it. Yah said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. That was the first lie recorded in the Bible. The Most High never told Eve and Adam not to touch it. He said, don't eat it. But Eve right here says you can't even touch it, lest ye die. Verse 4, and the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. That's exactly what people are repeating today when they say they live forever. They're going to reign with Christ forever. But Yah says he's the first and the last. Well, how can he be the last if everybody's going to be alive with him? That makes him a liar. But he's always going to be the last, because when I pass, my sons, he's still here. Just we cranking babies out, and we're still here with him as long as we're righteous. Okay, so watch what happens. Then the serpent said unto her, verse 4, unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. See that? Until Adam ate and partook of that fruit, watch what happens now. And the eyes of them both were opened. See, she ate first. Nothing happened. Right? Said, yes, Adam was basically the first to be in the truth. That's right. she was deceived, eyes were open, but that came later. So now remember, her eyes were open when both of them ate. They both, because remember, Adam is over her. Adam is her husband. They're the two are one flesh. You can't do nothing without both. The two are one. Right? But they knew good and evil before this, because if they didn't, then why would the Creator punish them for being children that don't know any better? Think about it. That's a setup. That would be a setup. So we know that's not the case. And it says, verse 7, and it says, and let me go back to it. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Verse 8, and they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam, his wife, hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God made amongst the trees of the garden. And the Lord God called unto Adam and said, where art thou? Now we know Yah knows where Adam is. And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, who told you was naked? Most High. So listen. So now this is what's happening. She got with the man serpent. She had intercourse with him. According to the law, which is eternal, when a man has a wife, if his wife commits adultery, he's supposed to do what to her? What is he supposed to do to her? No, not stone, because remember, judgment came with Moses. You have the law, statutes, commandments, but you didn't get the precepts, ordinances, and judgments, which is like the stoning that came later. So he was supposed to put her away. He was supposed to put his wife away, but then he went back to his wife, Eve. And when he goes back to Eve, this is adultery. Now Eve is pregnant. Eve has Cain. Now when you read verse 15, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman. That's the serpent. That's that man that she was messing with. So now she know he ain't no good. Just like today, when a man does something crazy. No, fornication is just first off, there's no such thing as sex fornication. That's a New Testament concept. Fornication is when you pervert and worship another deity other than Yah. You said, where are the precepts? It's in the story. The precepts in the story, it says, I gave her fruit. Well, what fruit did he give her? Why didn't it say apple? Why does it say tomato? Why does it say pear? Why does it say grapes? Because it's not real fruit. She did fornicate. You're thinking about fornicate in the sense of like having sex before marriage. Adam and Eve were according to that logic, Adam and Eve were the only people. So, and the Most High gave Eve to Adam. And the Most High gave Eve to Adam. So therefore they were married. Right? So if the Most High gave Eve to Adam and they were married, then why is the serpent being cursed to lick the dust of the ground? Snakes don't eat the dirt of the ground. That's what it says. It says, and dust shall thou eat all the days of thy life. But what is dust? Snakes don't eat dust. Come on. And he said, and the Most High says, and I will put enmity between thee. See now we're getting into this. I'm gonna show what we're getting into now. This is what we're getting into right now. We're getting into this. This is what we're getting into. This is what we're getting into. I'm gonna show what we're getting into. This is what we're getting into. See now, this is why stuff like these heathens like David Icke and all these people are able to come out and say all this different stuff, because now we're getting into this. This is what we're getting into now. If we really be honest, this is what we're talking about right now. We're talking about this. We're talking about this now. A upright walking snake man that the Most High then cursed to crawl on his belly. That's what we're talking about here now. Is it not? Is that not what we're talking about? So when you say enmity between, put enmity between them. So now Cain and Abel do have enmity because Cain is the serpent seed. That's who Yah's talking to. Let's go back and read it again. See, now when you pay close attention to it, it's all in the verbiage. Because other than that, unless y'all telling me reptile from Mortal Kombat is now running around. What is the word for seed? Fruit. What is fruit? Zerah, sperm. Eve got knocked up, produced Cain. Even today, people tell you Cain is a serpent seed. Check this out. Let's go back and look at it. In Genesis 3:15, who is the I right there? And I will put enmity between thee and the woman. Who is the thee? Who's the woman? And who is the I? Yes, be fruitful and multiply. 6, be fruitful and multiply. It's all metaphorical. So now she gets with another man. Okay, Sue and Abigail, y'all are women. I know you probably said this before. You meet a man, you think he's good, he tell you what you want to hear, but then you turn out he's not so good, and you call him a low down dirty what? Put it in the chat. You call him a low down dirty what? She said a bum. A low down dirty snake. She said a bum. Well, yeah, I guess he's a bum. Yeah, I'm with you. But he's a low down dirty snake. Now watch this here. Because this is Israelite vernacular. I'm going to show you. Check this out. Check this out. Oh, 1 second. Let's see something real quick. I want to show y'all something real quick. Check this out, y'all. And you'll see. And I want you to see that these are common sayings all around. And some of them you probably heard, but here we go. Even to this day, if somebody's not right, we call them a snake. Right? So let's look at number 1 and 2. There's a, hold on, can you guys see that? Hopefully you can. Let me maybe maximize it. Hold on. Snake in the grass quotes. And you'll see what I mean. There's a snake hidden in the grass, Virgil. Not all snakes slither, some walk amongst us, unknown. See that? But that's not literal. Snakes don't walk amongst us, right? So watch this here. Let's keep going. Life is a game with snakes on every level. Snakes hide in the grass. People behind their lies. Watch these snakes because I promise you they're watching you. Use your enemy's hand to catch a snake. Persian proverb. Snakes don't hiss anymore. They call you babe, bro, or friend. Make sure you cut the grass low so the snakes show. Jay-Z said, the grass is cut, the snakes will show. Right? So what is a snake? A snake is just a euphemism for what? It's just a euphemism for a person that you can't trust. Just like in that garden, that person couldn't be trusted. Okay? That's what it is. Number 12. Sometimes God has to cut the grass down in your life so you can see the snakes. The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. That's Nietzsche. People act, let me just go down here. Let's do here. No matter how many times a snake shed its skin, it'll all be a snake. Remember that before allowing people back into your life. You see the negative connotation? There are those who are snakes who slither with great debate. They use their vermin to take, destroy, and leave their mate. Some words are chameleons. They change their color with people. Some people are snake of the grass. They bite those who have trust in them. You remember when Trump gave that old speech? Here's an African proverb. A snake in the grass is deadlier than a lion in a tree. Exactly. A shady person. That's all it is. You said before the truth, someone told me this comes up, but she was a lesbian, so I brushed a lesbian, so you brush it off. I got you on that. Sometimes when somebody just living wrong, you don't even want to hear them, right? But she was right. It says, and about Eve sleeping with the serpent to have Cain. Correct. But the serpent is not a snake. It's just a person that has the characteristics of a snake. Like, and almost every rap song you listen to, almost all artists tell you he's a snake. He's a snake. Let's see something real quick. Check this out. Let me see something. Hold on. Let me not say op. Let me say it's people. Like here in Snakes, Joey acknowledges his outcast status in hip hop and speaks out against the culture of hip hop for degrading women and ultimately ignoring artists that don't pump out radio. So, you know, Snakes, whatever. Let's see. Talib Kweli, rapper, hypnotized snakes, right? See that? Hutch rap, snakes and snakes from Husky. So it's the same thing. See, look, the lyrics depict Husky's experience with fake friends, disloyalty, and the hardships he had to endure. The song called what? Snakes. So what I'm saying is that's what a snake is known colloquially as a snake is the person that you can't trust. Correct. One of the people on the sixth, yeah, a shady person. Yes, one of the people created on the sixth day, because remember it said he took him, and put him in Eastwood in the garden. So now he moves to the garden, but people just walk in and they're like, okay, well let me go, and they see all of a sudden, these people over here in this lush garden. They come in, they start talking to her. Hey baby, what's going on? I'm rapping to you. I'm talking to you. Hey, you know you got this. Hey man, you know you can trust me. You can do this, this, and this. Okay, the definition of Nakash. I'm glad you said that, because that'd be serpent. And it means to whisper, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. That's Genesis 3:1. It says from its hiss, serpent, and it comes from 5172. All right, so right here, Can you guys see this on the screen? Can you hold on? Can you guys see the 517T on the screen? Right, there you go. Like the old folks say, he out-talked Eve. That's it. He spit the game to her, got her to go against her husband, committed adultery. She's pregnant with a baby. The Most High come and say, for doing this, that baby gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt having that baby. Right? Think about it. That's the punishment for her, is having a baby. But the Hebrew is 5. Okay, look. Can you guys see on the screen? Hold on, I'm sorry. I didn't share it. My bad. Let me share it. Let me share it with you real quick. This is Nakash. Okay, so let me go back up. The serpent is Hebrew Nakash. But you guys see it's from 5172. You guys see that? You guys see that? Okay, so 5172. From 5172. Now let's go to 5172. Let's go to 5172. Let me close this out. And I want to share this with you guys so you can see it. Let me share this so you can see on the screen I showed you is 5172 as well. That's where it came from, right? So now check this out. See right here, Nakash, but it's from the 5172. But if you go back and look at the word Nakash itself, it's Hebrew 5175, but the root is 5172. So when you go to 5172, it says Nakash. Look what it says. Nakash. It says certainly divine, enchanter, enchantment, learned by experience. It says use divination, divine enchantment. And then it says what? To hiss, i.e. whisper, a magic spell, generally to prognosticate. Then it says certainly divine, enchanter, use, enchantment, learned by experience, etc. Right? Now, this is not a snake. Notice this here. When you go to Hebrew 5172, there is no snake here. That's also Nakash. But see, everybody go to 5175. They get stuck at 5175 instead of looking at the root. You said if that's the case, though, that C would have been. No, it wouldn't have. No, it wouldn't have. No, it wouldn't have. You said that C would have been wiped out during the flood. Based on what? Because remember, and remember, I guess, which I see what you're saying. So the enmity between them is between. So let's go back to Genesis 3 and 15. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 3. Let me just type in Genesis 3, okay? That way we can look at it and I don't have to keep going back and forth. Let me just type in Genesis 3. I didn't type 15. Chapter 3. All right, here we go here. So let's go down to 15. And this is Yah talking. And I will put what? Enmity. Oh, let me maximize it. I'm sorry, y'all. And I, Yah, will put enmity between thee and the woman. Who is the thee? He's talking to Eve. Look at verse 13. And the Lord God said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me and I did eat. Snakes don't talk. Unless we're going to go back to this whole reptile thing again. We're talking snake people. Verse 14, and the Lord said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, above every beast of the field. Because remember, he's in a low state. This person here is in a low state. And that's what David said. We're all but beasts of the field when we don't have the laws, statutes, commandments, precepts, orders to judge. That's what makes you different from an animal. Watch this here. We today colloquially say what? I'm a beast. Beast mode. Even today, the kids, believe it or not, say what? I'm on demon time. Which is the antithesis of what? I don't keep the laws. No, it's not. No, listen. Yah is talking to Eve. And he said, between thy seed and the serpent seed. So, verse 15, and I, Yah, will put enmity between thee, you, Eve, and between thy seed and her seed. So thy seed is the serpent seed, and her seed, Eve's seed. So now, his seed is what? His seed is he comes in with Cain. Her seed comes back with Abel. And don't we see that one kills the other? Literally, that's what happened. Jacob and Esau didn't kill each other. But Cain and Abel, Cain killed Abel. The serpent seed killed Abel. And then look what he says. So that your baby's gonna fight. Right? It says, unto the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. Hold on. Why does the Most High come out of the blue talking about it's gonna hurt to have a baby? Think about this logically. Now remember, if this is a snake man and they just eating fruit, okay, makes no sense. So I'm gonna punish you with having difficulty and birth pangs because you ate fruit, or I'm gonna punish you for what y'all did over there in them bushes and what's coming from that union. I'm gonna punish you for that. What makes more sense? And watch this here, because remember, without this, the way I'm explaining it, without this, where did Cain get his wife from? In Nod. There was another city already in Nod. Hold on. So how did Cain get his wife and go to Nod? Where did he get a woman from? At this time, according to the story, it's just Adam, Eve, Cain, and he killed Abel. It's just them three. So where did he get a woman from? Where did he get a wife from? Because they were already there. This serpent is just it's metaphorical talk of the characteristics of this sneaky man that came in and upset the balance of the beautiful home. And then guess what? They got kicked out of their house. And we see this literally. I got you. I look at it. We say this literally because typically when a man comes home and finds out his woman is in the home with another man, that house, they lose that home. They're no longer together. That's exactly what happened to Adam and Eve in the garden. They get kicked out. The landlord, Yah Eloheinu, kicks them out. You said because of Genesis chapter 1. So let's go to Genesis chapter 1. What verse you want to go to? What verse you want to go to in Genesis chapter 1? So what we see right now is there's a guy that walks in the garden. We're saying he's a snake. He tells her to eat this fruit. She eats the fruit. Now for eating fruit, she have trouble giving birth. Or there's a guy, not a snake, has the characteristics of a snake. He's very wise. Because what did even JC, what he says in the New Testament, he says, be harmless as a dove and as wise as a what? Serpent. So serpents are wise. This man came in, spit game. As you said earlier up there, he out-talked Eve. Right? So he comes in, he says, listen, what you doing around here? Get with me. She looking here, him spitting that game. She lay down with it. But then she go right back to her husband. She's pregnant. And remember, all of this is not happening instantly. When you go back to and we'll go back and look at it. Let's go to verse 1. She said verse 26. Let's go to 26. 26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish, over the sea, and over the fowl and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over all creeping things. Okay, let me ask you a question. Is this Adam and Eve? Have y'all noticed that in Genesis chapter 1, there's already men and women, and then in Genesis chapter 2, you get Adam and Eve? But in chapter 1, there's already men and women. Let's look at it. Verse 27, and God created man in his own image. In the image of God created him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. Now let me show y'all something real quick. That word right here, that whole and replenish the earth. What does the word replenish mean? No, I got you. Yeah, there were already people here. That before Adam. Adam comes from those people. They're not pre-Adamites. Adam comes from them. And then the Most High just raises him up. Just like the children of Israel. We come from Syrians. We didn't come from Canaan land. Abraham, our father, came from Ur of Chaldea by way of Mesopotamia down to Canaan land. He has a baby with his wife, creates Yitzhak at 100 years old. Then Yitzhak has a baby with who? Rebecca, and then Rebecca has twins. And we're the last nation to come out of these nations. We're the last nation. For the Most High said, I didn't choose you because you was the biggest or because you were the oldest. So he took the babies. So you got these so-called pre-Adamites. Pre just means before. Preheat the oven. Turn the oven on, the temperature on before. This means pre means before. Prehistory, before history is recorded. So now Adam comes in. He's separated from those people. The Most High separates him. He's holy, Kodesh, which means what? Set apart. Puts him in his own little world, his garden. But then the nations come in and they chip away at them and find a kink in the armor. That's the same thing that happened to Israel. The Most High takes us, separates us from the nations, calls us Kodesh, a holy people, separates us, tell us not to deal with other nations, that we're supposed to teach them, not follow them. They come in amongst us because we don't follow his commandment, which is to wipe out all the Amalekites, wipe out all the Canaanites, etc. We don't do that. So he leaves them as he said, a thorn in our side. Then they come in and they bring what? Chemosh. They bring all these deities, right? Ishtar. They bring Baal worship, right? And then we go off just like Adam did. But it says to replenish the earth. It means what? Replenish means that was something already there. You're going to do it again. In some versions, when you look up the Genesis, it says that the water was over the earth and it was chaos. Right? So yeah, people were already here. So then think about this, Abigail. If people were already here, is that snake a person or is it an upright talking snake? I want you to answer that for me. If people were already here and we call them pre-Adamites, I agree with that. Then was the person in the garden talking to Eve, was he a man with the characteristics of a snake? Meaning he was wise and crafty and talked her out of her good? Or was it a real snake dude that's walking around, reptilians, like I showed the pictures, and then God said, I'm going to make you a snake and crawl on your belly and eat dust? Which one was it? Because it can't be both, because they both differ. So now I'm saying that because the enmity between in Genesis, the enmity between let me go real quick back to 3. So the enmity in verse 15, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. So now Eve, don't mess with the snake, the dude no more, because he's a snake. She know he's a snake now. And then her baby and that she gonna get from Adam, and then her baby she got from him, they finna beef. Then he tells the woman, look, since you did this, I'm gonna make sure when you have a baby, it's gonna hurt. And your husband gonna rule over you, because see, that was the problem. Adam wasn't ruling over her. He was letting her do what she wanted to do. Well, think about this, Abigail. It couldn't be, you said, I have understand that it's a man, but I just need precepts in regards to her sleeping with him, because I'm under the impression that it was idolatry. It couldn't have been idolatry, because what was the idol? To be idolatry, you have to have an idol. So what was the idol? Think about it. Like, what was the idol? So was the fruit the idol? No, it couldn't have been the idol, because the Most High put that there. So what was the idol? It didn't say she worshiped nothing. Let's go back and look at it. When you look at Battle Sheet 3, it didn't say nothing about her worshiping nobody. See? Now, the serpent was most of the beasts of the field, subtle, meaning he was, remember, he's slick now. He's slick. And he said unto the woman, yea, have God said, ye should not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree was in the midst of the garden, God said, you shall not eat it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not die. And what are Christians and followers of JC saying today? Y'all won't die. That's that y'all still, the crafty serpent dude, y'all still saying the same thing. Because now when JC comes back, how long do y'all live? Forever. And there'll be some that are standing here that shall not see death. That was 2,000 years ago. Where they at? They still alive? This Highlander? So what you're looking for, the fruit. The fruit. Let's go to that real quick. Hold on. Let me go to Genesis chapter 3. And the fruit. Abigail, remember I asked you, I said, what was to have idolatry, you have to have an idol. So what will be the idol in this example? And let me show y'all something too. Right here, the word fruit. I think she might don't see it. Okay. So idolatry, you have to have an idol to worship something. It never said Eve worshiped this dude. And it never said she worshiped the tree. It never said she worshiped fruit. So what would be the idol? There is no idol. So that kills that argument, that angle, right? That kills that argument, because there's no idol. Because if there was an idol, then in Genesis chapter 3, going on down, we would see the Most High would say, hey, look, you was in idolatry. Because when the children of Jacob had their idols, he said, bring me them idols, and he hid them under the tree and buried them. So whenever there's an idol, when we lost the battle of Ai, it's because people had idols in the camp. He points out idolatry. The word idol is not even mentioned here in this chapter. Right? Correct. Like Delta said, we don't live forever. That's Christianity. Correct. We don't live forever. And here's the part is, we know that because when a loved one passes away, we cry. What are we crying for if they're really going somewhere better? But what does he say in Ecclesiastes chapter 9? That when you die, you have no portion forever, anything done under the sun. And I know people sit there and say, well, Michael says that some gonna resurrect or come back to everlasting, what's the name? And, everlasting shame, but it's not even talking about that. But let's keep going. So when you look at that, TT, I hope you see what I'm saying as far as in, it's not about fruit. It's about a woman that slept with another man, produced a child from that union, and Adam was supposed to put her away. He didn't have the judgment yet, which would be to stone her. That came under Moshe. Watch this here. When you eat pork is an abomination. YHWH chapter 11, verse 7. But when you go in Genesis and you look at Noah and Noah's ark, it says that Noah brought the unclean and the clean animals on the ark, but don't tell you what no judgment is for eating one of them. There's no judgment. Because the Most High was just paying people down for what they was doing. Like you see right here, the Most High, for eating fruit, you don't have problems having babies. That's not what happens for eating fruit. That's the Most High passing judgment because he didn't give us judgment yet. So now the Most High is passing out judgment. Hey, it's going to be hard for you to give a baby. Hey, it's going to be this. Hey, y'all going to have to work. Not get a job. You're going to have to work by sweat of your brow to feed yourself. Okay? Because these people were refined people. They weren't slow. They were craftsmen and artisans. They weren't slow people. We see they was making clothes for themselves out of fig leaves, which is metaphorical as well, because anybody that have a fig tree, you can't make a leaf out of no fig tree. And ain't no black. Ain't no fig tree gonna hide what a black man got. A fig leaf is stink. Let me show y'all something real quick. That's a fig leaf. That's a fig leaf. So let's go hide a man junk. Let's go hide Adam junk. Yeah, she disobeyed Yah. That's all it was. And listen, that's proof that it wasn't fruit, because remember, if you make it fruit, the knowledge of good and evil is in the fruit, in the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So if you don't eat it, you don't have any knowledge of good and evil. But he couldn't have punished her unless she really knew better. That's why she quoted back to the serpent dude, hey, he said we can't eat it. Then she added a lie on and said what? We can't even touch it. So that show you right there, she knew good from evil. She knew right from wrong. So that means this is not real, because the knowledge of good and evil, the knowledge to know good and evil was in the fruit. And she knew good and evil and what was right and wrong before she ate the fruit. That's proof it wasn't about fruit. Plus, women are supposed to be modest, so that would not make sense. Correct. The women supposed to be modest, right? So now, that was the first part he asked me about. So now, and then you said Proverbs chapter, was it 30, brother? Yeah, 30. So let's go to 30 Proverbs. That's the last one you asked me about, which was Proverbs chapter 30. And I might just do a video on that, and a deep dive video into breaking down Genesis chapter 3. Because I see people kind of struggle with that Genesis 3 because everybody's been brainwashed that it's been a snake. And it's been a talk. Think about this logically. We've been taught it was a talking snake our entire life, and it's not a talking snake. We've been taught that fruit has the knowledge of good and evil in it, even though they were given commandments before they had the fruit. to know good and evil. They knew Yah was good. They knew what they did was wrong because they ran and hid themselves. But they also knew it was wrong to eat it because Eve ran it right back to the serpent guy and then even added a little lie onto it and said, hey, we can't even touch this stuff lest we die. The Most High never said you couldn't touch. He said just don't eat it. You know, some of us, and enmity, thank you. There you go. Delta Root said, and enmity is Cain versus Abel. That's the serpent seed, Cain, versus Adam's boy, Abel. Now there's enmity between those two, and we see Cain killed Abel. Just like the prophecy said. And then the Most High comes back and gives him another son named Seth. Abel has another son, and he has more sons than that because it says he has sons and daughters. It just don't name them because they're not pertinent to the story. Okay, so that's all this is. But people are afraid and think it's, well, what's a talking snake? It ain't no talking snakes. What did Yah say? There's nothing new under the sun. When somebody show me a talking snake, I go back and revisit Genesis chapter 3, verse 5. Chapter 3, verse 15. I go back and revisit better sheep. But if you can't show me a talking snake, because ain't nothing new under the sun, ain't no talking snakes. It's all metaphorical. Right? It's all metaphorical. So and like I told you guys with metaphors, you can understand a metaphor by saying like and in certain ways. Eve talked to the snake, the serpent. He's like a man in certain ways. He can talk. He's walking. He's subtle. What does the word subtle mean? Let's look it. Let's look it up real quick. Let's look it up real quick. And then we go to Genesis chapter, Proverbs chapter 30. The word subtle is Hebrew 6175. Now watch this here. I'm going to show y'all this real quick to show you this is a man. This is not, I repeat, this is not a snake. Now watch this here. And as you guys all acknowledge, you guys know it's not a snake, right? You guys have already said that it's not a snake. So we've already acknowledged that it's not a snake. So now check this out. So if it's not a snake, it got to be a man. Now let's look at what the word subtle means. Let's look at the word subtle and see what subtle means. I'm going to click it there. The word subtle is the Hebrew word arum, right? So now when you look up the word subtle, 6175, arum, cunning, usually in a bad sense, crafty, prudent, meaning you're wise and you're crafty. So I can talk Eve out of her drawers before she have drawers. There was a rapper by the name of Cannabis, and he talked about that. He talked about Eve in the Garden of Eden and kind of breaking that down. TT says, y'all bless, appreciate this out. No problem, brother. And like I said, that's the enmity between Cain versus Abel. That's the enmity. That's it. That's all it is. And they was beefing with each other. And Cain didn't mean to kill him. He didn't mean to kill him. I can tell you what happened. Like, think about it. Just put yourself in the shoes. Now, the scriptures don't say this, but put yourself in the shoes. Abel's sacrifice was accepted. Cain's wasn't. And you know Cain knew he was the serpent seed. You think Adam and Eve didn't tell him we used to live in this nice place and we got kicked out? Well, why we got kicked out, mama? Because mama was doing something she had no business and your daddy them over there. But Adam is the stepdaddy. Yep, Christianity did a mug on, yeah, correct. And then they say the devil was enmity with JC. See, they try to make everything about JC, but it's not. The enmity was literally between Cain and Abel. The baby's born right after that. And the Most High, he didn't hate Cain because Cain had nothing to do with it. He said what? He said, man, Cain, just do what's right. If you don't sin, lie at the door, son. You can see the Most High talking to him. He was like, man, you don't want to accept my stuff? He's like, bro, it ain't the best. And then Abel, like, I'm giving the best. And then Abel sitting there saying, yeah, you know, Adam, my daddy. And the Most High love my gifts. Think about this here. What does the law say? And the law is eternal. I read it earlier. If you murder a person, if you unalive a person, what's the punishment according to the law? And the law is eternal. Not the judgments. I said the law. So what happens if you unalive somebody? If you murder somebody, what happens? What's the punishment? And this whole sin entered by Eve doing this, that's not true either. That's not true. That's not true. Sin did not enter the world by Eve. Eve got a bad rap with it now. Eve already got talked out of her drawers now, so we can't keep giving Eve all of that. Yeah, if it was intentional, Abigail, what is the punishment if it was intentional? Think about it. If I murder my brother Delta Roots, he's my brother, and I did it intentionally, what is the punishment for that, according to the law? Genesis chapter 9, verse 6. Let's read that real quick, okay? Let's read what the punishment is, okay? Genesis chapter 9, verse 6. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man. Correct? I read that verse earlier. Right? Now, when I check this out, if you shed blood, your blood is shed. And that's now let's go back to what Cain said to the Most High. He knew he had shed Abel, but it wasn't intentional, because if it was intentional, the Most High would have had him killed. So watch what he says. Because remember, the Most High don't play games, right? And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived, right? So let me show something. Let me go down real quick. Let me go back. Let me see something real quick. Hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Oh. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Verse 4:9. Genesis 4:9. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel, thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened up her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto her her full strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. Now, what is a fugitive? A wanderer, a person that's, gone away, done away with, and a vagabond. What's a vagabond? A person that wanders and flee, right? And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. Hold on, who are these people gonna kill him? And the Lord said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. Right? And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. So we know the other people are there. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod in the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. So we knew people was already there. Abigail said, which is the same thing with people having to flee to the land separate from camp. So so now we see that this, like I said, remember, Esau is trying to trick and manipulate us. But like I said, either two things: either it's a talking snake running around here, and Adam and Eve is the first man and woman, and then somehow we got to figure out how Cain got a wife and go to another city. He's scared people are gonna kill him that don't exist. Or it was just another dude that came in, got with Eve, committed adultery, and you got this, this, and this. That's all it was. So now let's go to Proverbs 30. I want to go to Proverbs 30 real quick. Let's see. Where is that? Okay, let me stop sharing. So let's go to Proverbs 30. All right, so Proverbs chapter 30. This is the last one you had asked about, TT. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed. Do you guys know who Agar is and who Yake is, etc.? They say these are symbolic names for Solomon, for Shlomo, but it doesn't matter. Like, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Proverbs 30:1, the words of Agur, the son of Yake, even the prophecy. Now, I'm going to show you how Esau does things, right? Remember, the Strong's is a tool. It's not the word of Yah. It's a tool. So when you look here in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1, Agur, it says it's what? Can y'all see that right there? It says it's a fanciful name for who? Where's that? Can y'all see that? It says it's a fanciful name. It's a fanciful name for Solomon. So they say Agur is Solomon. But this is really just a proverb, and I'll show you guys what a proverb really is. If you look up what a proverb really is, the Hebrew word translated proverb comes from the root word to be like. Thus, the book of Proverbs comparison showing us how various images illustrate the fundamental truths of life. That's what a proverb is, right? So it says that Agur in verse 1 is a fanciful name for Solomon. But then if you go and look at Yake, it says the words of Agur, the son of Yake. When you click Yake, a symbolic name for Solomon. So how could Solomon have be his own daddy? See, you got to watch it. You really got to watch it. So let me show you again. Hebrew 9:4 is Agur. The words of Agur, the son of Yake. So Agur, right? And it says a fanciful name for Solomon. And this is the only time this is in the Bible in this verse. Yep, like you said, think about when the book was translated to English, mid-1500s to 1600s, the language was different. And yeah, you go back to the Tinsdale is in English. It's older than the KJV. But think about this here for a second. Like I told you, I give y'all an example. It's in the Unger's Bible Dictionary right here. I think it's, I'll show you on the screen because I got it right here. Watch this here. If you look up corn in here, I think if you look up corn, it'll show it in the Ungers to show you what you're saying is correct. I know I had looked it up one time and I showed it to a guy on video too. Let me just do it this way here. I can show you. I can pull it real fast. You guys can see it. And this will speak to what you're saying. Okay, so check this out to show you what I was saying. Look at this, and this will help you, and which this will lend credits to what you just said, Delta. This is the word corn etymology. It says corn, Old English corn, single seed of a cereal plant. Seeds of a cereal plant, generally plants which produce corn when growing in the field. From Proto-Germanic kernam, small seed. Source also Old Saxon corn, grain. Middle Dutch koren, German corn, Old Norse corn. Then it says what? Greeno, grain again, grain. The sense of the Old English word was grain with the seed still in. But corn doesn't come like that, right? As in barley corn, rather than a particular plant, locally understood to denote the leading crop of the district. Now it has been restricted to the indigenous maize in America. Well, maize is from America, but maize is not from overseas. So when they were in Israel eating corn, the KJV and people at that time, even in England, they understood corn was grain. Let's watch this here. It says maize in America, circa 1600, originally Indian corn, but the adjective was dropped. And it says usually wheat, where? In England, oats in Scotland, and rye in parts of Germany. But it says usually wheat in England. So the KJV was translated in what place? England. King James was the king of England. You see that? Usually wheat in England, oats in Scotland, and Ireland, while corn means rye in parts of Germany. You see that? So that's proof right there how something in the 1500s didn't mean the same thing it does today. So now the natives call what we call corn today. I'm growing corn now. It doesn't have a seed inside of a husk. It doesn't. You take those, you dry them off, and just throw the kernel in there. It grows. There's no seed in, like, it's not like that. And then that was called maize, and then later people today we call it corn, but the indigenous people here in the Americas call it maize. So like you said, correct, it's wheat. As you can see, they're usually wheat in England, oats in Scotland and Ireland, while corn means rye. In Germany, they got rye bread. It's not cornbread. Okay, so that's further proof to what you was just saying. So let me go back to what's the name real quick. Let me go back to Proverbs 30. KJV, here we go. And it says, the words of a Gur, the son of Yaki. So I just showed you guys where the strong is incorrect. That is, and that's like Lewis always tried to say, I'm this diehard, I can't know. Truth is truth. I follow Yah. I don't follow a book. The book is the God. We don't put our trust in the book. We put our trust in Yah to reveal things wrong with the book. Because there are errors in the book. I can like saying Xerxes was alive at a certain time. No, that's not true. There are errors in Melchizedek. There's a lot out, and I'm going to get into that. That'll be our next live. And it says, even the prophecy, the man spake unto Ithiel, even unto Ithil and Ukal. So I'm going to go down. It says, surely I am more brutish than any man, and have not the understanding of a man. I neither learn wisdom, nor have any knowledge of the holy. Who have ascended up into the heavens, or descended? Who have gathered the wind in his fist? Who have bound the waters in a garment? Who have established all the ends of the earth? What is his name, and what is his son's name, if thou can tell? So a lot of people try to use this argument to say, oh, see, that's YHWH. But it's not. Let me ask you guys a question in the pack, and this real easily. Correct, Abigail. Yeah, nice actually means foolish. So when people say nice guys finish last, foolish guys finish last. Men that are easily corrupted and ran over by women finish last. Correct. Nice means foolish. Correct. A lot of people don't know that, but nice does mean foolish. That's why I never call people nice, unless I'm intentionally trying to say they're foolish. Right. So let me ask you guys a question. What does the word prince mean? Can somebody tell me what prince means? Or what is a prince? I mean, just guess it, like, whatever it is you think it is. What is a prince? As you guys can see, that was my presentation. I was basically the marriage and everything going into. I didn't even go into everything because I think a lot of people kind of understand. Okay, so Delta said the son of a king. Abigail said an heir, and then a chief leader, right? So, but the prince is the son of a king. So the next question: who is the great king? Who's the great king in the Bible? There's only one. That's it. It's Yah. So now watch this here. I'm gonna show you guys something, right? So we're here now. It's Yah. That's it, the creator, Yah. So let me ask you the question. Who's the son of the creator in the Bible? Old Testament. So I'm gonna show this real quick. It says, so there are two Ithiels in the Bible, and that's in Proverbs chapter 30, verse 5. Okay. So it says Nehemiah, there's one in Nehemiah, but that's 11 and 7, but that's way too late, because when you're looking at Proverbs is the time frame of Shlomo. That's the 10th century BCE. Nehemiah doesn't come on the scene to the 5th century, like 500 years later. So we know that whoever this Ithiel is in the Bible, it's not the one from Nehemiah, right? So now when we come down here, the words of Agur, the son of Yake, the prophet of the man, spake unto Ithiel, even unto Ithiel and Ukal. So what is this? So who is the one? We see this in Job 38 and 1. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind, and said, who is this that darkened the counsel by words without knowledge? Gird now your loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Verse 4, where was thou when I laid the foundation of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Right here. Whoever ascended up into the heavens, descended to the earth, who has gathered the winds in his fist, who have bound the waters in a garment, who have established all the ends of the earth. The same thing he's asking Job, because Job is older than Solomon, as you guys know. The same thing he's asking Job, the same thing here. Watch this here. He says, and if thou hast understanding. So we see, yeah, and this is me, emphasis me. So we see Yah coming in the world and asking Job about the east wind and how it blows upon the earth. So as you can see here, he's asking him about the east wind. He's asking him about all this different stuff. And I think I can show it to you because I left that part out. But if you go to Job 38 and verse, let me see something, make sure I give it to you because I left that out of my presentation about the east wind. Let me just search for it. Let me search for it real quick. Verse 24. Here we go. In verse 24, it says, by what way is the light parted and which scattered the east wind upon the earth? That's what he asked Job in 38 and 24. And when we go right back to Proverbs, chapter 30, verse 4, he asks about the winds in his fist. Who's controlling the winds? This is obviously the Most High, right? But he said, but Solomon is saying, what is this person's name? It's Yah. And what is his son's name, if you can tell me? It's Yisrael. And then even if you want to look at it on a spiritual level, you have who? The great prince Mikael, Daniel chapter 12. Hebrew 8269, prince, Sar, a head person or any rank, captain, chief, captain, general, governor, keeper, lord, master, prince, ruler, steward. The great prince is the son of a great king. Yeah, we know. I got you. Yeah, I know you're saying Exodus 4 and 22. Israel's my son, he's my firstborn. We know. That's what I'm saying. So when you look at it from that standpoint, now we see that the great prince also fights for who? Let's go to Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. But I gave you some issues here, like showing you how the word prince 8269, that's the word used. And the king said to the servants, know you not that there's a prince and a great man fallen this day in Israel? See, prince, because there's multiple versions of prince, but I intentionally gave you the 8269, which is in Daniel chapter 12. Okay. And then, of course, Hosea 3 and 4. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without teraphim, right? So now, when you go back and look at Shemot, Israel is my son, even my firstborn son. Well, the Most High is the great king. So Israel is the prince. And you guys remember when I did my Isaiah chapter 53 breakdown, I told you all they did was take YHWH and remove Israel and made it a single man. Remember the video we watched yesterday where the sister, the daughter of Jethro, came on and she said, only you gonna save us? She was talking about the Israelites. And then Obadiah chapter 1, the last verse says what? And saviors shall come upon Mount Zion. Saviors, plural. Right? Hosea 3, 4, and 5. All day long. So now, what is his name? And what is his son's name, if thou can tell? So now, let's go back to verse 4 or 5. See, Shlomo knows this is what he's trying to explain to us. Let me see. Deltaru said, he said, yes, sir. That's what I'm saying. Let's go to Hosea 3, 4, and 5. Right? Let's go to Hosea 3, 4, and 5. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without teraphim. Afterward shall the children of Israel return and seek the Lord their God, and David their king, who's an Israelite. That's the house of David, and shall fear the Lord and his goodness in the latter days. You see that? The great king and the prince of the king is us, Israel, collectively. See, what they did was they gave you guys a neo, Abigail. They gave you a neo. They gave you one man that is the one. He's the one. Even though, what does the Bible say the nations are going to do? It says the nations, the heathens, will take hold of him that is an Israelite and say, hey, we have heard Yah is with you. It didn't say nothing about no Jesus. That's why the world is crying and moaning for us. Listen, the world look up to us. When you go in, watch this here. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 14. Zechariah chapter 14, right? Let's go to Zechariah 14, right? Zechariah 14:16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, Yah of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. We are the light to the Gentiles, not a man. Yeshaya 43, verse 11. What does it say? I, even I am the Lord. 3068, that's Yah, YHWH. And besides me, there is no Savior. So is the Lord lying? Is YHWH a Savior? And he says what? And my glory will I not give to another. But what do we do as Israelites? We give the glory that is owed to the Father to a son. But hold on, Abigail, let me ask you a question. Who's the firstborn son of God? The sacrificial system is suspended, but it will resume. So right now we offer up the calves of our lips. That's the sacrifice. Our prayers. Yep, I'll deal with Ezekiel 45. Okay, I got you. You know, we put it in the, we do it, put it in the comments, and I will tackle it. If Abigail is still on, Abigail, help me out with that, Abigail. Somebody help me out with that. With that question I just asked. Because see, once we understand this is going to make it a lot easier to grasp. And when you look at Michael, what does it say in Daniel chapter 12 about Michael? It says, this is what I see. I'm going to show what I see. Even Daniel chapter 12, and at that time shall Michael stand up. Michael means what? He was like the strong one. He was like God. The great what? The great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And we're the great people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered. Everyone that should be found written in the book. That's it. That's it. She said, well, there are two scriptures, one with Israel and the other with YHWH. Okay, so let me ask you a question. All right, so, okay, so can both of them be true? Can they both be true? Because if they're contradicting each other, they can't be true. I give you an example. Let's say, Abigail, you have a son. Let's say you have two sons. The second born son, can he ever be the firstborn? So what he came in throwing it down. He said, show that man then change the name of Abraham the Most High on friend through his seed with all nations be blessed. Correct. So TT said no emphatically with the exclamation points, coming in like COVID, shooting daggers. Right? They both cannot be true because that's a contradiction. So listen, if you got a son named, like I got two boys, Hezekiah and Noah. Hezekiah Yisrael, Noah Yisrael. Hezekiah is my oldest son, he's 13. Noah is my youngest son, he's 12. Noah can never be the eldest. I can give him preferential treatment. I can do things that I don't do for Hezekiah, but he can never be the eldest. He didn't open the matrix of my wife. He didn't open the womb of my wife. He can never be the eldest. Jacob can never be the eldest. Esau's the eldest. Jacob can be chosen. He can get preferential treatment, but he can never be the eldest. That's why it says the elder shall serve the younger. He can never be the eldest. Why am I saying that? So let me ask you guys a question. Did the Most High have sex? Did the Most High have sex with Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah? That's the $1 million question. Did the Most High ever come down and sleep with another man's, Yaakov, Israel's wives? We know that didn't happen. So when the Most High says we're his children, we're his firstborn, is that spiritual or is that literal? That's for Abigail. Okay. TT said, of course not, obviously. But I want Abigail, because she asked about this earlier. I want her to see what I'm saying. And I want her to think about this. No, Yah only. Just Yah only. Yah only. Just Yah only. So, but listen what I'm saying, Abigail. I got you. I know. Listen. I understand. This is a lot to take in, because if this is your savior, you can't just drop your savior. You have to really be convinced. Trust me, I understand that. That's why I'm not saying you did X, Y, and Z. I'm not saying any of that. I'm reasoning with you with scripture. That's all I'm doing. And I don't expect you to walk out here and say, you know what? He was right. No, it's going to take time, because fear is there. Fear that if you're wrong, fear that if you made the wrong decision, fear if I'm a cult leader, right? And I don't even lead nobody. Oh, no. Hey, we know how it is. So it's cool. But that's what I want to I'm asking you. When the Most High said in Exodus chapter 4 and 22 that Israel is my son, even my firstborn son, was the Most High lying, Abigail? Because I'm gonna ask you just 3 basic questions. They're not difficult. And it's something you can think about tonight, tomorrow, whenever. And when we talk again, Yah willing, you can kind of look at it and say, okay, I've been giving it some thought. Because it's going to take some thought. This is nothing no laws in the New Testament. Because the Most High gave Moshe the laws. The Most High never, because remember in the New Testament, JC says, I have not come away with one tittle or one jot shall pass from the law. So now if I look at Abigail, if you're beautiful and I look at you and I lust behind you, that's what Del was asking earlier. That's not a sin. That's not a sin. How can looking at a woman be a sin? How can you looking at a man be a sin? Okay, thank you, Abigail. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about Abigail. That's my girl. She said he can never lie. Okay, so now that's the first question. So we know the Most High is not lying. So and when he says in Exodus Shemot chapter 4 verse 22 that Israel is my son, even my firstborn, is that literal or spiritual? Think about that. TT says JC and his homos out picking food on the Shabbat. How is that lawful? Correct. Because according to them, they want us to believe that YHWH was back there in Genesis when he had Moses, in Exodus, when he had Moses killed a man for picking up sticks. Yet now he comes back and does that. But the thing is, there's the difference between looking and lusting. Oh, no, listen. Let me show you something real quick. All the words for lusting I've already given them. I'll show them to you. So there's a difference, but there really isn't a difference. It depends on how you take it. Abigail said picking food is not working. So if I'm a farmer and I go out there and pick food, that's not working. When we pick manna out there on the 7th day, and the Most High made it stink, he explained it. That was food, right? And he told us not to do that on the 7th day, right? Manna was food. We picked that on the 7th day, and the Most High went out there to look for it. Wasn't none out there. So the Most High told us not to. He said, I gave you 6 days. On the 6th day, gather twice as much. No, Abigail, don't, hold on, Abigail, don't get sidetracked. This is what I'm saying. Spiritually, is the Most High you and our physical father, or is he our spiritual father? Come on, bring it on home, sister. We're all about truth. Listen, I'm not trying to trap you or nothing, because I'm asking you. I know you know the answer. No, sister, no, not because of the quill had nothing to do with that. And then plus the quill had nothing to do with JC them picking on Shabbat, picking corn. That had nothing to do with that. That's totally different. But it's spiritual. Okay. Is YHWH spirit? So you said Exodus 4:22, and I'm going to put it on the screen. You said Exodus 4:22 is spiritual. I agree. Let's put it on the screen and show it, right? We want to show that, right? Watch this here now. Walk with me for a second. And if y'all don't have, like, y'all can call me. I know most of y'all got my number anyway, so I'm gonna put that my numbers in the deal. So look at that for a second. I want to show you something. Check this out. Abigail, check this out. You said it was spiritual. Okay, I agree. And the Lord said unto Moses, when thou goest to Pharaoh into Egypt, and return into Egypt, see that thou do all the ones before Pharaoh, which I have put in thy hand, but I will harden his heart that he shall not let you go. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith Yah, Israel is my son, my firstborn. Now you just said, oh, oh yeah, you ain't supposed to leave your dwelling on Shabbat. That's in the law. That's what Moshe told him. Let's go back to it. I'll show it to you real quick. When you go back and look at the thing we were talking about, but hold on, I'll show you that real quick, Abigail. But I want you to understand this. Exodus 4:22. This is spiritual. So now the Most High says, Israel is my son, even my firstborn, because the Most High didn't come down and get Jacob's 4 wives pregnant. So this is spiritual. So I asked you, was YHWH spiritual? Is YHWH spiritual? Is he the spiritual son of God, or did God have sex with a woman to make YHWH? That's what I'm asking, Abigail. I'm asking if the Most High had sex with another entity. My mic not working? Is my mic working, y'all? Huh? It's like it's showing here. It's showing like it's working here. Is my mic working? Somebody let me know if my mic working. If you guys can hear my mouth, if you can hear me talking. Okay, Sue says she hear me. So maybe it's on your end because I'm looking at my little deal down here showing it. Okay. So yeah, oh, she's still asking, was she asking about going outside on Shabbat? I'll show it to you. Yeah, let me show it to you real quick. Here we go right here. There you go, Abigail. Shemot chapter 16, verse 29. See, for the Lord have given you the Shabbat. Therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. That's what everybody's telling you about keeping the Shabbat. You see that, Abigail? Let no man, which is a woman as well, go out of his place on the 7th day. So yeah, you're not supposed to go out on Shabbat. But my point is this, Abigail, I'm gonna let you in with this. If YHWH is a spirit, and then you read John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only means one, begotten son. You just said they didn't have sex to make Jesus, so that means it's spiritual. But you just read in Exodus 4:22 that Israel is the firstborn son. So how can Israel be older than JC spiritually? Because we know physically the Most High didn't come down and sleep with his wives. That's proof right there. That destroys John 3:16. And as you said earlier, God can't lie. Let me put it back up with you when you said it. He can never lie. And you're correct. So when the Most High says in Exodus chapter 4, verse 22, when he says, thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith Yah, Israel is my son, even my firstborn, then that's spiritual, because the Most High didn't have sex with Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, Zilpah. Therefore, that's us being his firstborn sons spiritually. And you can never have two firstborn sons. So then when you go to John 3:16, Israel is the firstborn spiritually. So now when you go to John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. Only means what? No one else. So if Jesus is a single person and he was the spiritual son of the Father, then how are we the firstborn spiritual son of the Father? Israel. And you said he can't lie. That's Exodus 4:22. That's the Lord saying that. I don't know who's saying this. You feel me? So Yah said David is begotten son. He said Israel is firstborn son. Correct. So if David and Israel and me and TT and I'm gonna call you the truth, TT, because I ain't saying TT, it sounds like I'm talking to my little niece, one of my little nieces, TT. So the truth, Sue, Abigail, Delta, we see it crystal clear there in Exodus 4:22 that God said that Israel is the firstborn son, and with his son and with his firstborn son. You can't have two firstborn sons. And we know it's spiritually because you guys acknowledge that Yah didn't come down and have sex with no woman, with Jacob's wives to make us. So therefore that's spiritual. We're the spiritual firstborn sons. Spiritual. So then John 3:16 can't be true. Yeah, I gotta call you. I gotta the truth. So I'm gonna call you the truth. I keep saying TT, and TT and my little I have a little niece up. Well, my wife's sister, daughter is Jatera. We call her TT. So when I keep saying, I keep looking around like TT or whatever. And then Sue just came in off the top ropes. Sue came in off the top ropes with the Jeremiah, with the Yeremiah 31:9 off the top ropes. They shall come weeping with supplications. Will I lead them? I will cause them to walk by rivers of waters in a straight way. When they shall stumble, for I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. I mean, listen. See, all we do is we just read the scriptures. Oh, Tim. Okay. Tim. I don't know why. Okay, gotcha. Callie, gotcha. Okay, yeah, okay. Tim, yeah. Hold on. So, Tim, what's the double T stand for? That's my brother Tim. Yeah, I hit Reggie up not too long ago. My brother Tim. Yeah, I know. I got you. Yeah, I hit Reggie up not too long ago. He was on one of the broadcasts with us or whatnot. Yeah, my brother. Okay, my brother Tim. But that's the TT kept throwing me off. Yeah. Oh, okay, I got you, Tim Thomas. I got you. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I just hit Reggie when you said Tim. I'm like, for Cal. Oh yeah, Tim from Cal. Yeah. Okay, but that's what I'm saying, Abigail. Gayla, that's fine. I want you to come back. That's what I'm saying. I want you to come back. So when you get a chance, you come back. Matter of fact, and if you can, my number is, I'm gonna throw my number back in the chat. I'm righteous, so my wife trusts me. I'm righteous. I don't do all that other stuff, right? So if your husband is cool, I don't have no problem. He can call me. You can call me with him. It doesn't matter either way. Yeah, I got you, Tim. So, and like I said, like I was telling you earlier, Abigail, this is something that you can't just make a decision on this stuff, because it'll turn your world upside down. But remember, that's the whole point of the doctrines of Christianity. It's the tentacles. They got their grasp, and you got to look at the word and divide it and say, okay, hold on, what is this? Because listen, they'll tell you we get down. We haven't really been okay, I understand, but sister, if okay, you're not mad I'm with a camp. I definitely understand if you would have camped. My brother Yahusha will call him. Hold on a second. What's up, Bob? What's up? Hold on one second. Let me finish this broadcast, okay? All right. So I understand that, but let me show you something real quick, okay, sister? I'm gonna show you something real quick. Well, you can look it up. Are there any camps in the Bible? You got to be with a One West camp. You're saying Tawada. So you got to be either with GOCC, ISUPK, or Great Millstone. Because I don't think IUIC even say Tawada and stuff like that anymore. I hadn't noticed it. And I know all of them personally. all the leaders of them personally. So who are you with? What camp are you with? If you're not with those camps I mentioned, then you're just with an offshoot of those camps. Because Tawada, Shalom, that's from One West. So what camp are you with? Notice, sister, we honest. We don't do all that other stuff. Oh, what up, Delta?
What's up, bro?
What's up? What camp are you with, sister? I mean, ain't nobody hiding nothing, you know. It's just, hey, we're about truth, righteousness. Yeah, our righteousness. We're about the truth and righteousness, right? If you don't want to share, that's fine. It's no problem. No problem. But like I said, yeah, these are things that you got to kind of look at, and you really got to get on these things and really kind of like really pay attention. And because you say those camps are confused, but whatever camp you're coming from, that's from One West. Yeah, so I don't know what BOW is, but they must be relatively new. So, but like I said, I know you may not like this, but all the camps are confused because that's why they teach the 12 tribe chart. Like I said, just look at literally, Issachar cannot be a Mexican. He just can't be. Like, I'm just saying, he can't be a Mexican. They have their own land. They still have their own land now. They have a seat at the United Nations. Israel doesn't have that. Like I said, we could go down the deep rabbit hole. You have Afro-Mexicans. Correct. Yeah. That's what I was saying, Tim. They are all offshoots of One West because they have similar teachings. Correct. Because One West, when you say Tawada, when you say Lashawan Kadash, when you say YHWH, that's from One West. That's from One West. That's all from. Now, that's what happens. Like Gorilla Hebrew, all those guys, they leave, they change little things up. GOCC, Rakah, they leave, they change little things up. Now it's not. It's Yeshaya instead of YHWH, right? They just change stuff up. But Gorilla Hebrew, they change their little carts up, who the Israelites are, they move a little. Like GOCC would say, now the Hawaiians are a part of the camps of tribes and Australians, and all of them, they just separate, but they all come from that house of Hashatan, One West, that teaches the lies. They all come from One West. You saying what, bro?
Just like Rabbi Lewis, GMS, you know.
Yeah, GMS.
Confusion, you know.
Yeah, Great Millstone, correct. They all come from the same places. And when you say don't believe in the 12 tribe chart, but what I'm saying is the Tawada, YHWH, that Lashawan Kadash, the language I was writing to you the other day that you was asking me about, that's all from One West. So you're whatever you're into is a watered down offshoot of One West. Trust me, I dealt with them personally. I know them all personally. I don't know General Yohana personally, but I know a lot of people in YHWH. But I do know GMS, IUIC. Back in the day, when I used to talk to them, and they was like, man, you're an Israelite, man, start a school out there for us and you join us and all that. I know all of them. Nathaniel, I know all of them. Barak Shaw, he's not even with them anymore. Nathaniel 7, I know all of them personally. They would call. So with that being the case, I've been around a long time. But I've been stuck with idolatry a long time. So yeah, so it's gonna take you some time to get out of it. Like I said, you have my number. If you choose to call, that's fine. No issues. I'm off this entire week. So if you choose to call, that's fine. If you got questions, you can put the questions in the comment on the video, and then we can do that. Or since you're with a camp, you don't want them to know what you're doing. I understand. You might just want to just call or text or whatever and ask questions and whatever. But remember, Anytime anything or anybody has you not willing to discuss what you're into and not look and search for truth, and they try to restrict you, by default, that's a cult. That's the definition of a cult. Like Tim said, like Tim, the cameras don't want to tangle with the truth. They don't want it. Listen, don't let the channel and 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers fool you. Trust me, they know what it is. They know what it is. They're not gonna come on here talking crazy. They know what it is. They know what it is. I've sent out challenge for years to these camps. They don't want it like that. Because I'll stop the money from coming in. True, Tim would stop the money from, Sue would stop the money from coming in. Delta Roots will stop the money from coming in. I'm just saying it just like that. Yeah, that's just the facts. That's on y'all. That's on y'all. That's on y'all. I dare them to come with these topics. Paying tithes. You don't pay tithes with money. YHWH chapter 12, chapter 14. I see YHWH and these camps taking they taking tithes with money. No. That is against Torah. So with that being the case, like I said, I end this broadcast. I was supposed to do an hour, because like they only give me 20 hours for StreamYard per month. But we're at the middle of the month anyway, so I just have to keep the next 8 broadcasts about 2 hours a piece, not an hour a piece, and then that'll do it. Don't stop their money. Abigail, let me tell you something, Abigail. All of us here, we're very patient people because we love Yah and we love Yah's people. The things I can show you things that'll make you question reality, that can literally make you say, hey, but it's better to do it gradually, because when you give people too much, the next broadcast you just won't even be here. You quit. You just stop coming. And it'll be all scriptural, like I told you. Like just like we went through the whole serpent thing today. What is the serpent? It's not a snake. It's a man with the characteristics of a snake. And we see that because Cain goes and finds a wife. So there's other people here. You already acknowledge that. Remember, we didn't even touch Herod and the 2 birthdays and the 2 senses argument. In your time when you're ready, we'll discuss it. You know? And remember, in the scriptures from Genesis to Malachi, or even Genesis to Revelation, if you want to count those letters in the New Testament, there's no such thing as a camp. That concept of a camp and Israelites coming together forming camps, that's not in the Bible. That's not a biblical concept. That's anti-scripture. There's nowhere in the scripture where the Most High said, make some camps and then go out there and teach the people. See, that New Testament tells you to go out and teach people. You see what I'm saying? So with that being the case, so much love to your sister. We got love for you. Anything you have any questions, call and ask. To all my brothers and sisters, y'all got anything else we can discuss? We can go into detail, put it in the actual comment section. Oh yeah, most definitely, Sue. Love all y'all. Love you, Sue. Tim, love you, Tim. Love you, Abigail. Love you, brother Delta Ruth. My brother Jay Israel that was on earlier. Even my guy, the burger guy up there. What's his name? I don't know what he is, but you know, hopefully he come out of the burger sleuth. Hopefully he come out of idolatry. You know what I'm saying? So y'all willing. So with that being the case, Shema Yisrael, Yah Eloheinu, Yah Ka. Love y'all. Be safe. And thank y'all for y'all prayers. All right. And I pray for y'all as well. Appreciate y'all.